This is Eddie Francis on WBOK, and this is the reality check in for Gerard Stevens. How are you doing? How are you? How are you, Kimba?
I'm doing well. How are you today? This is my this is my third time on the reality check, but this is my second day in a row on the reality check.
Oh, well, welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the reality check.
Yesterday, Glenn Boyd, Troy, Henry, and myself, we were on the reality check, and we had a good time.
All right. Good afternoon. So Martin checks in right away. He said, "Good morning, G-Man." Nope, I'm not G-Man.
That is Eddie. That is fast Eddie Francis.
Yeah, I'll just go with Eddie. I'll just go with Eddie. You know, there are a couple of things that we can talk about this afternoon. Of course, you know, there's a continued recovery. The people who are having to manage whatever they're doing in the aftermath of Francine. One of the things I do want to point out is that as you were listening to this, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to check us out. Go ahead, share the link. Share the link to Facebook. If you are checking us out on YouTube, go ahead and check us out. And then also, I don't know how many of you know this, but you can also check out WBLK on the ODE app, ODE app. Yeah, so go check us out on the ODE app. And then, of course, you can check us out on Instagram at WBLK 1230. So a lot of places you can check out the station and the show. And, of course, there's the website, WBLK1230.com. So, by the way, of course, if you want to call in, if you have anything that you just want to come and talk about off the top of your head, I say that. I wonder how much I'm going to regret it.
Oh,
but I say that 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. So I'm going to start out by sharing a text.
Mm-hmm.
So Kenya, you know this gentleman.
Okay.
Darryl Carter. We spoke to him last week, the professor from Eastern Tennessee University.
Correct. Uh-huh.
And he sent me a text this morning. Protect your dogs and cats.
Lord Jesus.
You know,
we fricasseeing animals?
Not us. I mean, we don't live in Ohio.
Dog chow mein?
Yeah, we don't live in Ohio,
what's,
so no.
What's a Haitian dish that you would make with a pet?
I have no idea.
I'm unaware.
It depends on what you consider a pet, too.
Well, there's that. Because if they're eating pets, why would they just stop at dogs and cats? Because people don't just have dogs and cats as pets.
I have no idea. You know, and
I'm sure iguana is very untasty.
Have you had gator before?
Yes, I have.
You've had some other amphibious type of...
Gator was actually good.
Exactly. So why wouldn't iguana be good?
You done just put iguana on the list. See, I was trying to keep them off the list. You done just added them somewhere somebody... I'm just playing people.
I mean, why stop there? If we're eating, animals, and as a matter of fact, in Florida, there was a person who made the plea, if they're eating pets, can you please bring them down to Florida because peacocks have gone wild. Like peacocks are all over the place in Florida. So I mean, by any
now,
means,
peacock might be tasty.
I would think so. It's bird. It's fowl.
Peacock might be tasty.
What's up with the peacock issue in Florida?
They just have a lot of them, and it's like they showed areas where peacocks are just kind of walking down.
Everybody
the street,
loves Florida.
Going across the street, holding up traffic on people's roofs. I mean,
really?
Yes. Like I saw one pan of somebody's house. They had peacocks on the lawn, peacocks on the roof, and I counted about 6 of them that were on the roof. Yeah. So I mean,
we gotta find out what the peacock.
If people are eating pets, Haitians are eating, and we have a heavy Haitian population in Florida. Why would they not be helping with the overrunning of peacocks?
Samarium on Facebook, she wants to know about a fried peacock wing.
I would go along with that.
Whoa.
Don't that sound tasty, or at least pretty?
You know what's funny? I actually have an HBCU peacock story.
Okay.
So this one HBCU I worked at in Dallas, Paul Quinn. I'm not going to mention him, but I worked at this one HBCU in Dallas. And, well, there's only one HBCU in Dallas, but anyway, I worked there.
If we're going to be clear. Mm-hmm.
And they did something very interesting. They got rid of their football team, and they decided to convert the football field to a farm.
Okay.
Which in Dallas, well, in any part of Texas, is a sin. That is just a sin.
Because football has
football rules in
Friday
in
Night
Texas.
Lights. Yeah.
But this was really a very intelligent decision. It was a great decision because the college was hemorrhaging money, right? They just couldn't keep money in the bank, and then the football team was getting dragged up and down the field religiously.
It wasn't a good football team.
Yeah, I mean, like they would lose their last couple of seasons. I think I heard they were losing by an average of 30 points a game or something. Like it was a bad deal. And so the president really made a good decision, and he got rid of the team. But then he got really creative and decided he would do this farm. So they had this idea. The idea, and I don't know what I can't remember what the rationale was, but peacocks are good for warding off certain types of pests, if I'm not mistaken. And so they decided to get a couple of peacocks. Well, it just so happens that my wife, Halima, that's where we met. We met at this college.
At Paul Quinn.
And she was doing some development work there. And one of the things that she did as a development person is she said, hey, what's the value of these peacocks? Because these were donated to the college. And they said, oh, we don't know. And she said, well, you need to find out because if anything happens to these peacocks, we need to understand.
And the insurer,
what the losses
insurer,
right.
the
So she's
amount,
trying to figure out all this
How does that
stuff.
impact the balance sheet?
She's trying to figure out, the liability and all this stuff. So these peacocks are roaming the campus, just roaming the campus. And then she goes, okay, listen, you know what? Since y'all don't want to tell me what these peacocks are about, or you don't want to tell me, you don't want to tell me all this stuff. Here's the deal. Y'all better watch them because these are rare creatures and people steal. And people are not above stealing peacocks. This college is in South Dallas. And South Dallas is known as a lot of the us's live in South Dallas. And it has a reputation. And not necessarily high crime. Well, it's not New Orleans high crime. It's not that. Okay. But it's higher than Dallas is used to. And so, and I'll say I felt perfectly safe in South Dallas, but she, she was just like, listen, you need to think about this. One day, she's walking at campus. She and I see each other, and she said, I just saw a peacock that was tied up to a pole. And I said, what? Who tied up a peacock? And she goes, somebody who intends to take the peacock. And so she went to the administration and said, hey, y'all need to go check on your peacock. Because whatever that peacock is supposed to be doing, whatever job it's supposed to be doing, it can't do the job because somebody tied it up. Right. And they blew her off. She went back, and that rope was there. The noose was there. But the peacock wasn't there. And the peacock never came back.
Wow. And was that the only one, or there were other peacocks?
Two.
Okay.
Oh, I'm getting to what happened to the second one. And so folks are going, what happened to the peacock? And it so happens that there were some people who were doing some work on campus. Not us. But they were doing some work on campus. And one of them decided to help themselves to the peacock and I think go get a payday.
Right. Exactly. Because it would be a bird of value. That's not a common bird.
And not a reflection on the college, by the way. I want to be clear about this. Love Paul Quinn. So then there's one peacock left on this campus. Roaming the farm. Peacock is doing his job. Living life. But there's this legend of a bobcat.
Oh, Lord.
At Paul Quinn. And
poor peacock
if you have never seen this campus before, it is surrounded by forest. And it's really odd because it's a heavy area of trees. You can tell they really knocked down a lot of forest land in order to develop this part. And so it's this one side, because the college sits on a lot of land. And there's this forest area behind the college. And there's this legendary bobcat. Nobody's ever seen the bobcat. People just talk about the bobcat. Until one student one day said, I can confirm we got a bobcat, y'all.
Wow.
And we said, how? Well, I saw the peacock, and it was hanging out that bobcat's mouth.
Oh.
So yes, we got a bobcat and no peacocks.
And both of the peacocks bit the dust.
Both of them.
They bought the farm. That is unfortunate. And she tried to tell us. She tried to tell them, but they ain't won't listen.
But they won't hurt them.
Listen. No. So, the pet situation and people eating pets, and we have joked. I think we have joked about certain cultures who may not eat certain animals. If you've ever been,
that's very politically correct.
Incorrect?
No, I said you're being very politically correct.
Yeah, you know, listen.
I mean, it's no thing.
I only get personal when people do too much, or that it's a personal attack on me. Otherwise, I try to keep it cute. But if you've ever been to a cultural market and go through and see the things that they eat, that would surprise a lot of us. Like,
it would.
The eyes of fish, which is said to give enhancement to certain things. That it was a bunch of stuff, because I was curious. I wanted to see what they had, and I was like, I would never eat this. This tongues and all of these other things. We would be surprised, because most of the things that we eat, we discard a lot of the stuff of animals. However, to the point in a market, I've never seen something that would be a domesticated animal. Like, I never saw not cowbacks, but catbacks available for fryers. You know what I'm saying?
A string full of skinned cats hanging like a chicken or something.
Or puppy dog tails available for you to stew in your soup. I have never
seen. You just
seen.
ruined it.
Well, I'm just saying.
You just ruined it.
I'm saying.
That was no reason to bring up puppy dog tails.
I'm just saying, in terms of items, again, some of the things that they will eat in certain cultural markets, the things that I would never have bought at my house or bought or looked for in the local grocery store major chain and expected to see, but never again. Something that's domesticated, like whole, like you whole fryer hens on sale for such a whole Rottweilers, 60-pound Rottweilers on sale for
Rottweilers.
But I'm saying you've never heard of that.
Skin Siamese 2 for $1.
So you never heard of that. So the fact that that one would use that as a racial attack on people of color, particularly people who are closely connected to the continent of Africa or as a whole countries, as has been said before, it's ridiculous, and you look like a moron.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's really not all that bad when you think about it. How many people get weirded out when they come here and we're eating crawfish?
Yeah.
People who are not from here.
Yeah.
There are a lot of folks who are not from here.
Or the idea of the work that goes into eating crawfish.
Well,
you got to give them that. Crawfish is probably our weirdest delicacy down here.
Frog legs.
I don't think that. I think people are more prone to frog legs than crawfish.
Interesting.
Well, it's more
like
available.
I'm talking worldwide.
We're
talking worldwide.
Yeah, because you see that in a lot of French cooking. You'll see
right. You know what I'm saying?
Frog. But I don't know if it's all across the nation. If you think about it, because this is a French.
Yeah, no,
state.
I'm talking world.
Okay.
I'm talking world. Now across the nation, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not across the nation.
There are definitely a lot of folks who get weirded out when they come here. And
how we prepare our seafood.
They go to the first crawfish boil.
But they know they coming and they going now. And that's what they're going for.
So there are folks, I've met folks who they said, okay, that thing y'all did with crawfish. Now, these are folks who had been here like maybe 10 years or something. And they said, when I got here and I saw folks dump a whole pile of mini lobsters into boiling water, it weirded me out.
Lobsters.
And then they took them out. And the thing was looking at me, and I was like, "Well, it wasn't talking to you. It was just, it was the eyes were still attached to it.
Yeah.
And then you had to rip the heads off and eat, which made it worse for this person, by the way. But I was like, yeah, you rip the heads off and you eat it. It's really no big deal. But they said that when they got here, it was like, yeah, well, those were things that we played with in a creek back home, but we didn't eat
used
them.
For fishing. Some people use them for fishing as
or
well.
They use them for fishing, right?
That's a travesty.
And you have folks who are not from this area, who may not be from this, who are not from the South, who get weirded out about catfish because catfish are bottom feeders.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of catfish.
So our seafood. I mean, most of your seafood is coming from eating from the bottom. Crabs. Most of those animals. Salmon is not a fish that is a bottom dweller, but a lot of the seafood that we consume they are bottom dwellers. They are.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it helps the seasoning, the flavor.
It just oh, that's some good flavor. Yeah, no, it's it really weirds a lot of people who are not from here out. Whenever they see us, doing the crawfish thing, and then the whole phrase, pinch the tail, suck the heads. That drives some people insane. They're just like, that. What are y'all even talking about?
Sounds like a good time down here.
Exactly.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, I mean, some people are quite pleased with themselves when it comes to their ability to pinch the heel and pinch the tail and suck the heads.
There you go. Sounds like a party.
Yeah, it does. All right, we're gonna take our first break. Let's do this. It is the Reality Check. I'm Eddie Francis along with
Kimber White Dupree
on the Reality Check on WBOK station. New Orleans is listening to
all day long.
That's right. It's party time each and every Sunday night at 7 p.m. on WBOK. It's the Throwback Throwdown with DJ Wick as he brings you the best in old school from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the early 2Ks. Plus, the party goes to another level at 9 p.m. with the Throwback Throwdown Party Mix to round out the night. It's the Throwback Throwdown Sunday nights at 7 p.m. on WBOK 1230 a.m. and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
Boost your savings with a CD from Home Bank. For a limited time, Home Bank is offering 5.05% annual percentage yield on a 5-month CD. If you want a longer term, take advantage of the 4.50% APY on a 9-month CD. The minimum balance for this special is just $2,500. So speak with a banker at any Home Bank location today. Home Bank, member FDIC.
Welcome back to school, families and scholars. NOLA Public Schools is excited to kick off another exciting year of learning, growth, and success. Our dedicated teachers have been preparing all summer to provide an engaging and enriching experience for every student. Let's embrace new challenges, celebrate achievements, and make this school year the best one yet. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS by visiting our social media channels. Here's to a year filled with curiosity, creativity, and community. Attend today, achieve tomorrow.
New Orleans Burlesque is back. The Red Light District, located on the second floor of your New Orleans headquarters by Nice Guys, presents a captivating, international, award-winning burlesque experience that will leave you breathless. Indulge in the sounds of our Grammy Award-winning quartet and exceptional food pairings each and every Saturday. To purchase tickets, visit Eventbrite.com, and remember, what happens in the Red Light District stays in the Red Light District.
Greetings, WBOK family. This is Jason Clark, host of United Way and You. Be sure to tune in next Thursday at 12 p.m. when we'll be speaking with Melanie Richardson, co-founder and executive director of Training Grounds, a United Way funded partner. The topic will be the We Play, We Connect Family Resource Hub. Please tune in if you're able. Until then, we only have one life to live, so live united.
WBOK is pleased to announce the reboot of Crosstown Conversations with host Gene Nathan. A heightened focus on cultural entertainment events and the creators who present them. The new time is now Saturday at noon. Tune into the stories of our exploding creative scene with Gene Nathan on Crosstown Conversations.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey. That's that. Tune into the reality check. Look. Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey. That's that. Tune into the reality check. Look.
And welcome back to the Reality Check. Eddie Francis sitting in for Gerard Stevens along with
Kimber White Dupree.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Now we can say we've hung out on 2 different shows.
I swear. I know. Look at that. Look at us. Look at us.
Look at us. You know, since people have been recovering, we have like people having their power being restored. And we looked at the map earlier, where Jefferson Parish and Orleans Parish were around the same. You had 51,000 people out of power in Jefferson Parish and like 47,000 people in Orleans. Jefferson, as of about 10 o'clock today, was down to about 15,000.
Yeah.
In Jefferson, and I think down to about 11,000 in Orleans Parish. So the crews are doing their jobs.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at the map, there are certain areas where the transformers have been affected. So therefore, if your neighborhood is connected to a certain transformer, it may not be online, even if the houses around you have come online. But, they're trying to get everybody back up unless they've actually lost a pole to their electric power, because then a construction crew would have to come in, of course, and do the repairs. But I think they have more than they've decreased the amount of people by more than half compared to yesterday.
Yeah, it looks like they're moving at a pretty good pace. Just taking a look at the Entergy outage map right now, there's a whole lot of green, a whole lot of green. And it was a freaky storm.
Yeah,
it was really freaky. I mean, it was a Cat 2 right before landfall, and then it hit land, and then it started to do this weird thing. I was bouncing among all of the channels, watching the storm coverage, and Nakandra Norwood on Fox 8 at one point. She geeked out at one point because she saw that there was something that was developing in the eye wall. And I think she said it was called a replacement eye wall, if I'm not mistaken. And it was so funny because she geeked out about it.
It's probably a rare occurring
That's
thing.
what it was. And that's what she was pointing out. She was pointing out that this is something that you don't necessarily see all the time. And it's really funny when you see, especially a scientist, and a scientist sees something rare, and as a citizen, you're sitting there going, I don't want the eye wall to do anything but pass. I don't need to understand. What
else? Don't tell me something else to separate this. Are we getting ready to get two? What's going on?
Right, but she just couldn't help her inner scientist, and she genuinely geeked out about it. She ran up to the weather map and she started talking about it. But the point being is that it was a really, really interesting and freaky occurrence. And where I live in North Slidell. I live north of I-12, and so we didn't get impacted all that badly up there. So I was able to actually watch a whole lot of the storm coverage. I think we probably lost power for a few minutes overnight.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we were sleeping, so we didn't even realize.
Yeah, so it wasn't.
So we were very blessed, very lucky. But it was really interesting watching everybody. The thing that was most interesting to me was everybody was so busy joking about bring Bob Breck back. Where's Nash? Can we find a way to bring Nash back so he can get his little marks-a-lots? And
we don't want to bring him back,
right? It's just like,
now if you want to rewatch some of the programming that might match the patterns of the storm, well, we're not bringing people back. We're letting people rest.
At this point, I just want people to leave that man's grave alone.
Please,
don't do anything you don't need to be doing. Please don't.
My goodness.
But watching, but the thing that was so interesting was watching some of the current weather people remind people of their credentials and remind people of how long they've been doing
it. Like, I actually went to school for this. I am degreed.
Right. Like they have to keep reminding people, I may not be the person who you watched 20, 30, 40, 50, 70, 1,000 years ago, but I still know what I'm doing. And that was the thing that was so interesting to me. So We got a call coming in right now.
I think that's for somebody out in the office.
It's for somebody else. Before I answer.
Hey, how you doing?
Before I answer
nope, not
sales
us. Okay,
call.
sorry.
Yeah. Once me answer sales, like, hey, WBOK, how you doing? Oh, I'll tell you how much exactly it's gonna cost. I got a new show that you can sponsor. How about that?
How about that? Nash Roberts, I remember him on television. I remember watching him with the Marks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And people have problems with transitions. Every time we transition somebody into a different position, people have an issue with adjusting to new people in those spaces, and you have to give it time, right?
You really do.
If you remember, like it was when Angela Hill was on TV, I know that there was some adjustment. Like, who is this lady? Why is this lady on? Why is this lady on TV? Because women can also report the news. Then you add in one of our own. Sally Ann Roberts. I know people were going through it when they saw her on screen.
Well,
I know
Sally
they
Ann
had
Roberts,
issues.
Andre Trevine.
Oh my,
Yeah.
Andre Trevine.
Yeah.
And why are they on the TV? Because they also went to school to do this, and just give it time.
Well, actually, so it's really interesting to me to see people consider Margaret or the Queen. People gave her a hard time when she started.
They did.
I remember this, and I remember people said some pretty unkind things about her when she started, and now she goes out as the Queen, which is great. I mean, that's great to see. But yeah, we have a hard time adjusting to new faces sometimes.
And then add in people's own biases and their prejudices about what is happening or what they think should be happening. There's never an offer like, why is she in the job? Well, do you have somebody else who you can recommend for the job?
Right.
No, but why is she in the job? Why is he in the job? Who else do you suggest to be in that role? You have no other suggestion? Well, I mean, why are we having this conversation?
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, that was that was really interesting to watch.
Andre Trevine, I remember watching her like in awe.
Yeah,
I remember
Andre
watching
Trevine
her
and
as
Eric
a kid.
Colson, yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely remember her on watching her on television. But even when Norman Robinson was,
oh goodness,
I know like people are accustomed to seeing certain things, and when things change, I don't like it. Have you tried it? No.
Yeah.
Have you watched more than one broadcast? No. Let's do that first. Just like with foods and stuff, for people who only eat certain, I don't like that. Have you tried it? No, but I know I'm not gonna like it. Here, taste it. Oh, it's not that bad. I know. Do you have to eat it all the time? No, but you can't say you don't like it when you've never tried it.
Just
so
try it.
Just get out of your own way.
Yeah, that can be a tough one. That can be a tough one for us. We are very much married to we are married to what we like. We're married to our traditions. It can be really tough for people to change traditions. But at the same time, there are traditions that mean something because, for instance, with food, it's really, I like hearing other cultures talk about the way they cook food and what it means, what the process means to them. And they'll tell you, well, it's done this way because, and it has nothing to do with, it doesn't always have anything to do with the taste of the food. There's always a family story. There's always a cultural story. There's always something. I think that's why red beans and rice is so legendary.
Because it's attributed to something else. It's connection to something else that takes place with when you are considering red beans, the time and what you're able to do while preparing that meal. But a lot of people don't know those things. They don't know those backstories. And we've had a disconnect in our culture, not just here in New Orleans, but in general. Like COVID put a separation of your elders and children being able to connect with each other. So that intergenerational conversation that was already strained prior to COVID was exacerbated as a result of COVID because you're trying to keep your...
I was going to say, did it start with COVID? I mean...
No. It was already exacerbated because people are doing all the things. We don't just go to work and go home, bring the children to school, come home. We go to work. We do a side job. We have the children in multiple activities. If you have multiple children, they're in multiple activities and groups. So there is so much running around. that the connectivity has been it's kind of been stretched, you know, where when I was a kid, my dad worked at night. He worked from 2 to 10. My mom was a teacher, but there was always a point. We saw my dad in the morning and we came home with my mom in the afternoon. We were able to have our conversations and talk about what was going on at the school. My mom was a teacher, so she got off work at about 3. By 4 o'clock, we were at home doing homework at the kitchen table, eating dinner. We were in bed between like 7, 8 o'clock. I don't know anybody, regardless of the age of the children, who are able to get their kids down that early.
Yeah. That can be pretty tough. That can be pretty tough. Yeah, I mean, one thing that we've been able to do in my family, I'm very proud of it, is that we have brought back dinner conversation. And so we have dinner, and we have really good conversations. As a matter of fact, that's probably when some of my best ideas come about, you know, when I'm thinking about what I'm trying to do as far as some sort of topic or something like that. But Jess, see, we got somebody on the line right now, so I don't want them to hold too long because they've been holding for a while. Okay, he's going back to see what's going on with him. But I do want to say hello to the folks who are on Facebook right now. Martin, good afternoon to you. Samarium, good afternoon to you. Karen, good afternoon to you. Anita, good afternoon to you as well. And let's see. Karen, I love this comment by Karen. Radio personalities are acquaintances. We share laughs. We share community concerns and grievances. It's as though you know personally. So when you leave, we mourn. And
that's a good point.
That is a really point, good Karen. Point. Yeah, that is a good point. And that was probably one of the roughest things, the absolute roughest things about the breakdown of local radio, because that's something that we talked a lot about. The way I started my career, I started my career with local radio, and you know, I had the privilege of working alongside the late C.J. Morgan, who's, you know, the local morning show legend. Yes. And I learned a lot from him. I mean, I learned a lot from him about timing, about what you should say, and you know, at a certain time of the morning, because this is where people are in their commute at this part of the morning. And this person, you know, this type of person is going to want to hear you say this, and that type of person. And it was all very New Orleans. It was all very local. You know, he told me there was a character he did, Buddy Amigo from Bogalusa. And, you know, the thing that was, I asked him, I said, why is he from Bogalusa? And he said, no matter where I've been, in radio, you always want to find a town that just has a funny sounding name. And he said,
Bogalusa, Louisiana.
He said to people here, it may not sound that funny, but when they hear somebody else say it, all of a sudden it becomes funny. So it was Buddy Amigo from Bogalusa. I forgot, he was in Memphis at one point. I forget what the character was when he was in Memphis, but yeah, I mean, Karen, that's a really good point. You know, I left radio in 2012, and I missed it. I missed it a lot. And what I really missed about it, though, was I missed the listeners. I really missed hearing people call in and that sort of thing, because we were a community, a huge community. And then, you know, I don't want to throw shade at any of the companies that have properties here in New Orleans, but when they started bringing in folks who were celebrities just for the sake of being celebrities, it lost so much of its soul. And I respect these folks for rolling out their shows and just doing their thing and trying to make their dreams come true on the airwaves. But when you bring a national celebrity into a local community, it has to be done really carefully. And there has to be some kind of runway into that. You just can't shut down the local voice.
But radio moves like that.
It does. Oh yeah, no.
Radio,
it always
radio
has. It always
moves
has.
like you have a host this day, and then like, well, where's what is happening here? And I didn't know that radio moved that quickly. But after listening to some stories, Claudia Jordan, she was telling about how she was working for a radio station, and then either the radio station lost funding or bankrupt, and they found out that day or the next day, oh yeah, you're not coming into work tomorrow. And
Oh,
I
that
was
happens.
like,
Yeah, that used to happen a lot.
I
Well,
don't
still
recall
can.
working in any industry that moved that way.
Mhm.
There was always a transition or a change, about that. So that is,
Yeah. Elmore has been holding for a while, so Elmore, let's get you in. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. I love the topic of discussion, communications. Because we have came a long way with that. Because when I look at my age, 74, and I remember as a young man, listen to the Groovy Gus's, Dr. Daddios and all, and I think that's one of the things you can make me laugh. That's one of the things that make me like to talk and listen to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think what I really appreciate about communications is the way we get it today. When I was a kid, you had radio, newspapers, and whatnot. But now, you have satellites. It's amazing how we can get direct information direct with satellites around the clock, no matter where we are.
Yeah.
But I think what I love about y'all, you make it interesting for people to listen, at least with me, and you make it a pleasure to talk with y'all when y'all discuss on certain things, because it makes it comfortable for the listening audience, bro.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I wish everybody had their way of talking, communicating with their people, to give them an understanding. Hey, no, you don't have to be a major communication to be able to talk.
Right. No, you don't.
But kind of make some things plain, I think, is really, or make it at least make it
Absolutely.
applicable to the area of the people who are listening.
Yeah. Elmore,
Well,
thanks a lot for
look,
checking in this afternoon, brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
All right.
Have a good one. So he's right about this because, okay, we all watch, or we tend to watch national news, right? But there's some things that when they have people on from certain places, there are words that they use that we don't use in our daily language. But then there are some things that make me comfortable with listening to what other people are saying if they use words that are from your region. So specifically, if you hear somebody say there was buku such and such, okay, cool, that's somebody from here. Let me continue to listen to what it is that they're talking about. But you also need other perspectives, because in our hands, in our pockets, in our reach, we carry computers. So it makes things a lot more digestible when you hear somebody speak in your dialect or speak I don't want to say in your language, but speaks to the region that you're from, and to make things make sense for you. Because oftentimes when information is shared on national platforms, it's speaking to cover a broad spectrum of people that doesn't always catch everybody.
Yeah. I one of the biggest struggles I had when I started radio was I grew up watching the news a lot. So I wanted to be a news anchor. And so my role models were people like Warren Bell.
Shout out to Warren Bell.
I had national role models. Norman Robinson was a role model of mine. And then there were folks who I'd watch on the national stage. CNN, what was my man's name? Bernard Shaw. So all these different folks who I watched, and they made me want to do news. And then I get into local radio. And so I come into local radio with this news delivery sometimes, and then they have to say, Eddie, take it down a peg. Take it down a peg.
That's not who's listening to you.
It's like we know that you really worked hard for that education of yours, but this ain't the place.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time understanding that when I started in radio. But what I did come to understand was that all I really needed to do was I needed to be able to, number one, be myself, be who I was being when I was joking around with my friends. But then at the same time, I just had to say something that would give people confidence.
Yeah.
That I knew what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And once we got to that point, then I figured out what I was doing. But it took a while. It really took a while because I was one of these people who worked so hard as far as speech is concerned, and I've always been very proud of my writing, and so I was one of those people when all of that stuff came together for me. I just didn't know what to do with it on a hip hop radio station, and I had to take it down a peg. But you know, it was but that was a great lesson. That was a really, really good lesson.
If you pay attention to what the teachers who were able to share information with you, even if the topic was difficult, you paid attention to the fact that they're able to read the room of what was being shared. Because oftentimes we have people who are able, who have
how to do that too.
have so much information, but translating it or sharing with people doesn't always cross over that way. And then you know, that also helps. That's why when they were picking on Kamala's I get code switching. When did she pick up a Southern accent? Which is something that is very particular. Like people in communities of culture, we do this because of the standard that has been set upon us by the people of the dominant culture. Y'all don't like how we talk to each other, so we change how we talk to each other when you're around, or we change how we talk to you. But when we're in our relaxed tone, we don't sound that way. It's not because this is something that we want to do. We figured out that in order to be able to navigate the spaces, we do that because of y'all.
Yeah. And so, you know, I actually, so I'm teaching a class right now at a college, and it's a part of the class. It's actually a college success class. And that was there's a really enlightening approach that these folks have. And the approach is when your students write something and it looks like the students are not writing in the proper English or the grammar, don't hammer them on technique or mechanics. Make sure you understand that they know what they're saying. So if you can read it and if you can understand what they're saying and what they're writing has direction, that's what you grade them on. But you coach them on the mechanics. You coach them on that and don't make them feel small. Ooh. You know, what you do is you say, hey, listen, here's a great resource for you to improve your academic writing.
Yes.
But you got an A on this.
The content of what you,
I understand
that's why
content,
rubrics matter.
And I understand. Exactly. And so the rubric is designed in such a way that you give them credit for their intention. And you give them credit for being able to connect the concepts of the class and that sort of thing. And that was really refreshing for me to read. And I was like, oh, because I was feeling weird for a minute. I was going, I don't know what to do. I understand exactly what this student wrote, but man,
they were able to support. They were able to support what it was that they said, but the level of the academic piece was what needed to be strengthened, but the content was solid. And so therefore, if they satisfied what was being asked of them, you can't just shoot all of that down.
You can't just shoot it all down. We're going to take a break. Sandra, I see your comment on Facebook, and I definitely want to read this comment because I think it's really important about communication and media. But this is the reality show. I'm Eddie Francis along with
Kimba White Dupree
on WBOK.
Hey, New Orleans, Tavis Smiley here, inviting you to join me each weekday evening at 7 p.m. right here on WBOK 1230 a.m. for the Tavis Smiley Show. You can expect great guests and getting the answers you need to know. It's the Tavis Smiley Show on our new home in New Orleans, WBOK 1230 a.m.
Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
Discover the Leah Chase School, NOLA Public School's first new direct-run traditional public school in nearly 2 decades. We offer excellence in math, science, English, and social studies, focusing on unlocking every child's potential. Every scholar receives a personal device, regular assessments, clear family communication, as well as transportation services in a nurturing, arts-inclusive environment. Secure your child's K through 5th grade slot today. Apply at enrollnolaps.com and embark upon a unique educational journey.
A message from the community scientist. Do you live or work in St. James, St. John, St. Charles, Ascension, Calcasieu, Baton Rouge, or St. Bernard parishes? If so, it's important for you to understand objective information about 1,3-butadiene, volatile organic compounds, methane, and mercury, and how they impact your health and the natural environment. The Community Scientist is a service program of Rise St. James. Learn more at risestjames.org.
Hey folks, it's Dr. Shepherd. You know me, I've got something special for you. Write this number down, 504-858-4696. That number is for you if you're having hair loss issues, no matter what the issue may be. It's for an all-natural ingredient formula derived by my mom, a pharmacist, in 1971. And trust me, it works. Give us a try. You can get your hands on it right now. Call 504-858-4696.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 1230 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
Hello, WBOK listening audience. This is Pastor Robert Tanner of the Community Church of River Ridge, Louisiana, inviting you to tune in to our Sunday morning broadcast at 10 a.m. every Sunday morning right here on WBOK 1230 a.m. That's Community Church with Pastor Robert Tanner every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on WBOK 1230.
Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey, that's that. Tune into the reality check. Look. Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey, that's that. Tune into the reality check. Look.
And welcome back to the Reality Check. I'm Eddie Francis in for Gerard Stevens along with Kimber White Dupree. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Make sure you join us and you share this radio show and this station with your friends. We're streaming live at WBOK1230.com. Also streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and the old app. And you can also connect with us on Instagram at WBOK1230. Make sure you give us a call also, 504-582-9422, 582-9422. I do want to get into some debate reflections just a little bit, but Sandra wrote a pretty interesting comment in Facebook. She says she's listened to talk radio for years. She and her dad used to listen all the time, and they would discuss politics. They disagreed many times, but learned from each other. The formula for education, core, communication, communicating, observation, reading, experimentation, and the first three are crucial. And I agree with that. I think it really is important, I think, when you have something as powerful as the airwaves, to be able to offer that to folks, to be able to offer them opportunities to debate and to talk to each other, but then also to learn a lot about each other. And I think that is extraordinarily important. That's why, for me, I had to have a transformation about my radio career. I was one of those people when I started radio. I started radio in my early 20s. And so I was a knucklehead. And as a knucklehead, I saw an opportunity for me basically to just run my mouth on a microphone.
Well,
that's what it was for me. And so I would jump on a microphone and I was doing hip hop at the time. So it was fun.
It leaned into the type of music that you were playing. It added to it.
It was a party. It was a party. It was all about, quote unquote, establishing myself and all that good stuff. I wanted to be a shock jock, so I would say some wild stuff at times. You? Yes, I did. I wanted to be a shock jock so bad. Too bad, actually.
Really?
Too bad. It was, yeah.
What years were that?
I was pretty thirsty. We're talking about 96 to 2000.
And I would have been listening to radio at that time.
Yeah. I did the overnight shift a lot.
Oh, well, then you had a lot of freedom to say a lot of things.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Because unless you were working, if you were working the night shift, then, there's usually a skeleton crew that works overnight. And they listen to the radio.
Oh, they're very entertaining, too.
Yeah, those are people. Yeah, no, that's an interesting group. But as a teacher, you pay attention to people who speak the loudest and speak the longest. It often does not share. It does not share that they have expertise. They're just the loudest. The loudest. And over time, it comes a time that you start ignoring those people. And even being in radio, that also has become a habit. Where like you see a kid having a temper tantrum. Rick was just telling the story just now about somebody that he saw laying on the floor, and it may have been to get attention, and he was giving them a correction, and they were like, "Don't tell me what to do," as a response. But it was like at some point you see people who are always clamoring for attention, you step over them and you keep it moving. But that also comes with being able to read the room.
It does. And that's one of the lessons I learned doing media work, that you can have the clearest communication. You can speak extremely well. You can be very entertaining. You can be hilarious, or you can be, quote unquote, deep. You can be all of these things. At some point, though, what you have to manage is the microphone becoming a drug. And that's what a lot of podcasters are learning the hard way.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, a lot of podcasters are learning the hard way that the microphone can become a drug, especially when people start saying, "Oh, you are so this, and you are so wise, and I love everything that you say," and da-da-da-da-da. You start believing your own hype.
Well, and people are losing money as a result. I don't know if you saw where Candace Owens' channel was demonetized because of some off-the-wall stuff that she said. And, of course, there was Fresh and Fit podcast who are always saying things negative about women. Their podcast has also been demonetized. So where that used to be able to fly under the radar, people are losing their ability to make money. But as listeners, or as people who, because I was a listener and still am a listener here of WBOK, understand that your views are yours and don't always have to be valued or even acknowledged. And I think people overstep their ideas of importance or how important it is. After all, the person who has the platform, of course, it is nice to have a back and forth with. It is, of course, enjoyable to listen to different perspectives. But like sometimes, you gotta check yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Before you wreck yourself.
Absolutely. It's some of the wisest words ever written in hip hop.
Shout out to Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, some of the wisest words. Another comment that Sandra wrote in Facebook, and if you're in the Facebook community, please feel free to drop your comments or ask your questions. But she said, my dad also told me not to get full of myself because in reality, what we think we know is akin to the grain of sand on a pinhead with lots of room left. And she said she really misses her dad. Yeah, I would love to have heard your dad say that because that's true. I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. There were so many things that I thought I knew. And I would open my mouth and start blabbing and start saying all kinds of wild stuff,
That would have been funny for me to hear.
Trying to be the flavor of the day and all that kind of stuff. And it worked against me.
That's so adverse to who you like present as now. And maybe it's a maturity thing.
I am in my 50s.
But that would have been funny to see. That would have been funny to hear and see. Like, oh, you heard what Eddie said?
I heard. I made people laugh. But it probably wasn't the audience I wanted. And I did find out that, I needed to chill.
Yeah, or at least that wasn't a representation of your employer that they wanted to put out there.
Oh, the employer in question at the time didn't care. they just wanted to make sure them dollars rolled in. So we're going to go ahead and take another break and get into hour number 2 of the reality check. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And thank you for tolerating me, by the way. I got the call yesterday and I said, why not? Here we go. It is the reality check. Eddie Francis along with
Kimber White Dupree
on WBOK, the station New Orleans is listening to
all day long.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans, home of the reality check, weekdays 1 to 4 p.m.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A Georgia public defender plans to defy her subpoena and skip out on testifying at a Senate hearing. The Senate committee chaired by Senator Bill Cowser issued the subpoena after African-American Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis refused to testify voluntarily. Russian President Vladimir Putin is warning NATO leaders that he would consider them lifting Ukraine's long-range missile restrictions as an act of war. He told reporters Thursday that if NATO alliance leaders do so, Russia will respond to what he referred to as the threats. Firearms are the leading cause of death for children and teenagers in the U.S. for the third consecutive year. Homicides make up the majority of those deaths, that according to a new report out Thursday from the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Solutions. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey. That's that. Tune into the reality check. Look. Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey. That's that. Tune into the reality check. Look.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to the reality check. I'm Eddie Francis along with
Kimber White Dupree.
And make sure you hang out with us.
Yes.
And also make sure that you share with your friends. Because we are streaming live. We're streaming live all kinds of places, which is all over the place. We are ubiquitous. We're streaming live. WBOK1230.com. Also streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and the old app. And also connect with us on Instagram at WBOK1230. If you have something on your mind, then make sure you give us a call. 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. So, I did get a chance. I watched the debate, and I was entertained. I was highly entertained by it.
What entertained you the most?
I'll get to that in just a second. It's probably not the obvious. I think I was more entertained by some of the Kamala conspiracies that came out after the debate.
God.
But 67 million people watched. 67 million people watched. BuzzFeed did a poll, and consider the source on this, okay? BuzzFeed. Just consider the source. And they actually polled people about whether or not which way they were going after the debate. In this poll, 35.9% of the people who were polled said I was undecided but leaning toward Kamala Harris.
Okay.
38.8%, I was undecided but leaning toward Donald Trump. 25.2%, I was completely undecided. Like I said, consider the source. This is BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed. No shade on no shade to BuzzFeed, but they're not exactly the New York Times. They're not exactly, the Washington Post or the, LA Times or anything like that. It's BuzzFeed. So they have a pretty interesting audience. What I found really interesting, and I felt like people really wanted to pick on Kamala Harris from the beginning. I think people were waiting. They were just waiting to say something. She started out nervous. You could hear it. Her throat got dry a couple of times. She stuttered a couple of times. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, this is a big moment.
So.
Okay.
Have you ever been in a fight?
When I was in grade school.
So in the beginning of a really big argument with somebody, when you.
Are you talking about a fist fight or a verbal fight?
Yeah, fight.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you are in the beginning of it, she was already amped because she did not know how that handshake was going to go. So she had to bring that back down.
That handshake was weird, yeah.
She had to debo him.
He made it very weird.
Yes, she had to debo him on that handshake because he had no intention of shaking her hand.
Right.
So she was like, but what I'm not going to do is let people say that it was me who was not conducting myself as a professional or as presidential. Because in any time that you're coming to greet somebody who this is your first time meeting them, you've been talking about each other, in your rallies and in your conferences and whatever else with regard to your campaign. At the end of it all, he is a bully, and the first thing I'm gonna have to do is step to you because you weren't gentlemanly about it, and you were going to show your behind and not shake my hand. So I'm sure her anxiety and her the nerves were high then. So she had to settle herself after that, because that could have went a lot. He could have refused to shake her hand, or he could have said something off to her, which was going to set her off and have her up here. So okay, fine, we shook hands now. Okay, I'm calming down now. I'm kind of getting it back together.
But what I loved, it didn't take her long.
No.
It didn't take her long at all.
Jazz, you looked like you was about to say something. Did you?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say him not shaking her hand would have been suicide for him, like political suicide.
You think so?
Yeah, that would have been the equivalent. To me, that would have been the
that would have
equivalent.
revved up his base, but that wouldn't have gotten him any new people.
Right. His base would have been like, ooh, hoorah! But anybody that was on the fence would have been like, nah. That would have been the equivalent to Joe Biden calling the other guy Putin.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna come back to that because that's an interesting point. And by the way, I'm really eager to hear from the audience. What did you learn anything new? Give us a call, 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422.
And for those of y'all who did not see the debate, since we still calling it that, I'll still call it a debate too. After the next break, we're gonna play some of it.
Okay.
We're gonna play some of the
some highlights.
We calling them highlights, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So the thing that was so interesting to me though is I was very eager to see how he was gonna react to her. That's what I was really, really interested in, and she threw him off his game.
Oh yeah,
big time.
Oh yeah,
like he could not recover from her being who she is.
Well, he could not return and respond the way he would be. He would have been comfortable in doing so, because again, that would have been another misstep politically that would have shown how unprepared he was. Because if anything, he was unprepared.
Oh, absolutely.
But had he responded like he would have, like with his base when he's talking noise, and she made a verbal jab, had they had the audience there, he would have started with the barrage of insults right off rip.
Yeah.
I agree, but here's what I think. I actually think that Kamala handled it in a way where he wasn't able to get rolling like he wanted to.
Exactly.
Even if the people were there.
Mhm.
Because let's think about the last one. Did anybody just bust out laughing at him? That's some black stuff.
Yeah.
Kamala
did.
bust out laughing at him.
But
I mean,
he
like a
would've-
good old ha ha.
Yeah.
She did that, and then went right back to being presidential. You know what I'm saying? So I really think that approach really like bit him in the butt as far as like showing that you have the temperament to be president.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it was anything
She was
that
human.
wasn't known.
She was human
Oh,
in the laughter.
She was.
She was human in the facial expressions, but she stayed. She was prepared. But he said that he debates. He's the greatest debater that anybody's ever seen. So therefore, he did no prep. No prep.
She did a really good job absorbing everything that he threw at her.
Yeah, yeah.
She did a really good job. And then she bottled it up and then shot it back at him.
Ooh.
And that was the thing that was just, to me, I thought she did an excellent job.
Yeah.
And I thought that she just knew what to do.
Mm-hmm.
All she had to do, she had to get past that first couple of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And once she got past it, she was fine. Now, the thing that I was very disappointed in, again, they need to do a better job picking moderators. They need moderators with cojones because these people allow Trump constantly to interrupt. And that got on my nerves.
Well, they didn't mute the mics either because you could
No, they
still
didn't.
you could still hear him having a temper tantrum
Well,
during the time that she was
the
speaking.
mics were muted. They
But-
were muted because what you heard was him on her mic.
On her mic, and that's
Yeah,
and that's the whole thing. Like in a quiet room like that, in a situation like
You're gonna
that, you
hear
have to take account. Like if I turn your mic off right now and you're speaking loud enough,
Right.
the
you're
other
gonna-
mic is going to pick it up.
yeah,
Yeah. But I was a bit annoyed that they constantly allowed the dude to interrupt. Now, there were a couple of times that Harris had things to say and they would not let her say.
But
They wouldn't let her return fire.
She was persistent
She was.
and
She had to
going
be.
back to
Right.
address it. And
Right.
that piece of it where
Right.
he was saying that people were going to walk all over her. No, she was like, yeah, no, I'm going to answer this, but I'm going to fact check him in his face and you're going to deal with what it is that I have to say right now. So for people who were thinking that she was going to be a weak person and that he was going to like trample all over her,
Yeah.
and he's sizable over her. She already stepped to him and already was she
Yeah.
already gut checked him with that. The verbal onslaught, we knew it was going to
yeah.
happen.
You knew that was coming.
You knew that was going to happen, but she did not cower to him, and she
Right,
let him know, yeah, if you talking to me, I'm talking to you.
Right.
So what's good? How we going to handle that? Which for people who had the idea of, well, it's a woman, it's a man. Nah, she was swinging just
Well,
like
and
him.
And so this is where I really admired. This is where I really admired her mettle because the thing about Harris is that, first of all, this is somebody who has dealt with, I'm sure, mansplaining
Oh,
her
God.
entire career.
Absolutely.
Not only that, and I actually kind of joked about this. I was sitting there going, you can get as petty as you want. That woman went to an HBCU. She
So
knows
she not a
pettiness like
rib.
nobody's business. Like she understands pettiness very well. This is not a slap at HBCU.
No.
But we know us.
Yes.
Like black folks, we know us and we know how we can get. And she's in a sorority, which I'm telling you, as somebody who was in a fraternity.
As somebody who was a member of the same sorority, yes, she's had some knocks. She's had to crack back at somebody else,
all of us,
for
all of us
whatever
who-
the case may
all
be.
of us who wear Greek letters, we know pettiness.
Yes.
We know it.
Yes.
We know it. We see it. We deal with it all the time. So his pettiness was nothing.
Yes.
His pettiness was nothing to her. And she was really, really able to. She handled it extremely well. The thing that was she really showed his weakness too. She exposed him big time because all he could do was punt to his comedy routine, his impromptu comedy routines, because that's who he started to turn into his own little personal comedy show. And I think what he thought he was doing, he thought that he was knocking her down to size with sarcasm. And then he started doing what he does best. Trump started speaking in extremes.
Mm-hmm. The fear tactics.
His base loves that.
Mm-hmm.
But people who know better, people who are smart, don't go for that. And, you know, the man, he it's so funny. I was about to say this, and I just read what Sandra just wrote. He has no game. And he doesn't. He really has no game. Now, what I will say that keeps working for him is that he is highly intuitive, and he knows who he can kick mess with. He knows that. He knows his base.
Mm-hmm.
He can kick all kinds of foolishness and mess with them. All he has to do is tell them that, you know, I don't know, Black Lives Matter is the same as the Taliban. He knows he can tell them stupid stuff like that, and they're gonna eat it all up. They're like, yeah, hell yeah. I mean, he knows that's what they're gonna do.
Jesus.
And he knows that there's a handful of black folks who can be like, well, you really think about it, bro. You know, he knows that there's going to be that handful of black folks who are going to go for the cheese,
It's more than a handful, unfortunately.
Well, we'll call them
it
a
is.
handful.
We'll call them a handful.
Because the ones that I'm seeing lately, I'm
really,
just like...
You know what? Like, that's really part of the problem, that we don't recognize how big that number is.
I would say this. I would say that they are an extremely loud minority.
I'll go with that.
Extremely loud.
Yes, I'll go with that.
Because listen, Jazz, they make sure they make sure.
Oh,
they
make sure.
They make sure they heard.
They make sure.
You know, I told y'all is stupid.
With the dumbest things and the unvalidated statements, and it's like, where are you getting this from? Other than listening to those talking points, because you could tell me that water is not wet if you show me that water is not wet. That you have to prove that to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to show me. But if all you have to say, you know, just like on the play yard in high school, oh, that girl does XYZ, when? And since you're telling me that, I'm gonna ask her that in front of you so we can get to, you know, she's gonna give me her version, you're gonna give your version, and I'm gonna get a general idea of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're giving the extreme things, like the people eating the pets, in my 47 years of life, I have never, and I know people of many different cultures, I've never seen anybody eat a cat or a dog. Have we joked about certain ethnicities doing so? Yes, we have. But have we generally been able to confirm that that's what people have done?
Confirmation, no. Suspicions, yes.
Suspicions are fine.
I mean, I done ate some stuff that I was like, I'm not sure what that was, brother.
Suspicions for sure are fine, but that goes with anything else, right? You see, that's how that's so dangerous when we're talking about ethnicities. Black male, criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Suspicion. Why does that?
Oh, yeah.
Why does that get tagged? Because the last several shooters that we've had in mass shootings were what? White domestic terrorists. They were not black people. So tagging generalities to people is really a dangerous thing. And so again, if you're going to be a consumer of information, make them show you the receipts.
Yeah.
If that's what's happening, show me. Because with everybody having a computer, a video camera, and you know, a still camera in their hand, if that's what's happening, show me the pictures.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because here at WBOK, we pride ourselves on investigating. So I did some investigation, and I have some receipts.
Okay.
And I will play the receipts after we play the debate.
That sounds good to me. So, you know, those kind of things, there are many points that they could have attacked Kamala Harris on, because she didn't answer some questions. There were some questions that they asked her the questions. She talked right clean around them. She swerved a lot of those questions, but she didn't just stand flat foot and lie.
Right.
That's the difference. That's where I draw the line with people. Like, okay, I know you're coloring this story so that you look a little more favorable, right? I have an understanding for that, but when you flat out tell me the sky is purple when I'm looking at it right now and it's baby blue, come on, get out my face.
Yeah, I mean, come on. We're all adults in this world, and we all understand that it's a presidential race, which is a competition.
Mm-hmm.
And you're competing, so you don't want to look bad, so you're going to try and spin it as good as you could. So, of course. And then it's just politics,
Yeah.
I feel a certain way about politics anyway. So certain things are expected. But,
Yeah. And and the thing is, but part of Trump's strategy is to just say whatever. I mean,
garbage can, underarm, flower pots.
But that's how Build the Wall came up. He never meant to build a wall.
But it stuck.
That was never his intention.
It stuck.
It came up at a political rally. The crowd went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He loved it because crowd reaction is a drug to him.
And he's an attention whore.
Right. Crowd reaction is a drug to him. And so this is his, as a matter of fact, his old campaign manager told the story on TV
about how it came about.
How it came about. I mean, he said, build a wall and I'm going to make Mexico pay for it. The crowd went crazy. And after the rally, the campaign manager asked him, well, is this something you intend to do? And he was like, no, but they loved it. So I'm going to say it again. And so he said it again at another rally. Crowd went crazy. And so it became, quote unquote, a policy. And the thing that's really funny to me, I'm looking at this BuzzFeed piece, and this is a very interesting comment that someone wrote as far as their reaction to the debate. This person, who is anonymous in the article, says, I was leaning toward Harris before the debate, but now I'm voting for Trump. Harris never really explained her flip-flops. She just disabled them. So all I can assume is she isn't really changing her stances, just saying she is. So
how much money went into building the wall?
So
how much did Mexico pay? Is it still there? Is it completed yet?
But here's my question. How did we get to a place? And again, 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. How did we get to a place where Kamala Harris is being held responsible for stating her policies, but Trump, who said literally in a debate, I have a concept of policies.
No. Hold on. I have a concept of a plan for a policy.
The man said I have a concept. Now, he told y'all. How did she get held more responsible for coming up with policies than a dude who lied to you and then brags about lying to you?
That was the equivalent of this, holding your hands up and shrugging your shoulders, when he said, I have a concept of a plan for a policy.
I need to know how we got there. How did we get here? And I'm really interested in some of these people who I haven't even gotten to the Kamala conspiracies because they're two good ones.
We'll get there.
But we're going to talk about it. 504-582-9422. It is the reality check on WBOK, the station New Orleans is listening to.
We got the low lights on the other side of the bird. No, we're going to call it the highlights because my girl is involved.
There you go.
Find us online. Did you know that you can now listen to your favorite show whenever you want? How? Just go to www.wbok1230.com. Click on the Talk tab and select your favorite show. There you'll see your favorite host and the show from each day. And be sure to follow us on Facebook at WBOK1230AM, Instagram at WBOK.1230, and TikTok at WBOK1230AM.
Boost your savings with a CD from Home Bank. For a limited time, Home Bank is offering 5.05% annual percentage yield on a 5-month CD. If you want a longer term, take advantage of the 4.50% APY on a 9-month CD. The minimum balance for this special is just $2,500. So speak with a banker at any Home Bank location today. Home Bank. Member FDIC.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Delgado Community College offers programs in business, technology, health sciences, and the arts with over 100 career-focused books, degrees, and certificates that are affordable, flexible, and transferable, we can give you the knowledge and skills to succeed. Delgado is a great fit if you're starting your post-high school education, or we can help you advance or change your career. Take a step toward being unstoppable at Delgado Community College. Visit dcc.edu to learn more today.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
WBOK is pleased to announce the reboot of Crosstown Conversations with host Gene Nathan, a heightened focus on cultural entertainment events and the creators who present them. The new time is now Saturday at noon. Tune into the stories of our exploding creative scene with Gene Nathan on Crosstown Conversations.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey, that's that. Tune into the reality check. Look. Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey, that's that. Tune into the reality check. Look.
Then he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you.
She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. The people on television say my dog was taken and used for food.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
But the people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme.
Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. No, I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her.
I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race.
Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down, all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
She was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Anyone with $10,000 or more.
Welcome back to the Reality Check. Eddie Francis in for Gerard Stevens, and those are some interesting highlights. I really have to ask this question again, though. After reading that last comment from the BuzzFeed piece, how did Kamala Harris become more responsible for putting her policy recommendations out than Trump? Now, I have another question. Where are the "we're sick of old people running for office"?
Oh.
Where's that crowd now?
Oh.
Where are they after this debate? Because he definitely sounded like he was.
Because now he is the oldest presidential candidate. For sure, and he is definitely has lost the full faculty and employ of his verbal assaults. Because I'm telling you, it is just as random as toilet paper, monkey, salad, fruit cup. It is all word salad. He does not put together sentences well.
I mean,
all.
he definitely sounded like he was off his meds. And I'm sure he gets really good ones. At least that's my guess. It's an opinion.
He's old. He's been allowed to do what it is that he is doing and has always done. And now people are expecting him to do a new trick. And in all reality, when you are a certain age, getting you to change habits is the hardest thing to get older people to do. For people in general, because we talked about that. We started off the show with people having difficulty adjusting to new things, adjusting to changes and whatnot. However, when we have older people, old races, right? Is that the color girl? Grandma, we don't say colored anymore, Or is that the nigger that was... Papa, we don't say that anymore.
Right.
And so getting them to change something that they've done their entire life is so difficult. He is in that space. And not only is he resistant to it because of habit, he don't want to change it.
No.
He has no desire to change it at all.
Yeah, and I really, so again, interested in your reactions, 504-582-9422. I'm interested in knowing whether or not people feel as if they learned anything new. And it could be anything. It could be about either candidate. It could be about any. If you are someone who says, no, I definitely heard policy discussed, then I would definitely like to hear from you. But along with the controversy that is the Kamala Harris candidacy for some people, you knew there were going to be conspiracy theories. So the first one that was really funny, and this one, it's not going to get as much traction as people think it will. Lindsay Davis, who's one of the debate moderators, is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha.
Okay.
Somebody posted that, and of course, the people who are the Harris haters had to come out and say, oh, so someone in her sorority was a moderator.
We don't all like each other.
Well,
we love each other.
But did you hear, there were times that Lindsay Davis really struggled to really get a question in. She struggled to really handle stuff clearly. And there were times that she did go back and forth with Harris, and it sounded very genuine. It didn't sound like it was staged. And so, no, that was not going to get the traction you think it's going to get. All right. But
again, we all don't like each other. We love each other. So, y'all can go. Just like family members, that's my cousin, but I don't like them.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's
human. It's humanity. Here's my favorite one, though. Kamala Harris was getting secret messages.
Through an earpiece. I saw that.
So she was getting, so here's another conspiracy theory about Harris during the debate. She was getting secret messages through audio earrings called Nova H1.
Child.
And it just so happens that these Nova H1 audio earrings resemble the earrings that she was wearing. Now, supposedly the earrings that she was wearing come from Tiffany and Company. But folks are convinced
that there was
that she was getting information.
How does it feed into her ear if it's hanging from her earlobe without other people hearing it? How does that go exactly?
Listen, I don't question the wonders of technology. Listen, if
I'm sure it could be done.
It can be done.
But I'm thinking, let's think about it, right? With all the earbuds, AirPods, and all the different devices that you have, all of them touch your inner ear. So how do they feed sound from your earlobe to your inner ear without other people hearing it? Because I'm not saying it's impossible for her not to get the information, but how do you do that without other people hearing that? Because that sound has to travel.
Right.
And travel up and in. The likeliness of that, like people really just, they don't know science.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I am not a tech dude, so I could not give you the science of it at all. But the thing that was so funny, Newsweek actually did an article about this. Newsweek.com, they wrote that to date, there's no proof that Harris is wearing such earrings. Now, they did say that they reached out to the Harris Walls campaign for comment. I don't know if you expected them to
comment on that.
Right.
Go sit down.
Newsweek, I don't know if that's what you expected. But the theory among the conspiracy people is that she wore earrings that were designed like the Tiffany and Company earrings, and people were feeding her answers.
Oh, okay.
And that's how she was able to respond.
Then she wouldn't have had that brain fart when she paused, that she looked like she was about to say mother, father.
Oh my goodness!
No, because she
She would not have had that brain fart.
Okay,
I don't think it was a brain fart.
Let me just say this. Let me ask this question. I've got to ask this question. 504-582-94. Were you there? I was hoping she would say it honestly.
Well, look,
because she said this, I was like,
I spent the next 10 minutes debating with myself what she was about to call me. And I came up with two options. Neither of them.
She called them multiple things. She just didn't say it out of her mouth.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I'm sure I know two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She said
I just can't can't say it.
The one of her favorite curse words starts with
an
M
and
ends with a.
Yeah, so that's one of the possibilities.
That was definitely this.
Yeah.
Or since he liked talking about dogs and cats.
Oh.
Yes.
It could have very well been.
I have considered those as variations.
Switch says bigger.
Yes. I have definitely considered that. Yes. Yes. I have definitely considered this witch here. Yes, I have definitely considered that. And to me, I don't know. I mean, if she had said it,
you know what?
They would have ate her up.
You know
but
what?
I would have applauded. I probably would have stood up and clapped.
And this is absolutely awful, because if she would have said it, should have been criticized.
Him out, ghetto.
But if he would have said it,
he would have been. It was just a man doing things.
Oh man, that's cold. That's cold.
Yeah,
that's cold.
Yeah.
But I mean, on the other hand, like I would have been like, yeah, I'd have told.
You earned that one.
Yes,
you earned that one.
Yeah. That was a moment. That was a moment in that debate. But I will say this: I do think that she blacked out just enough to make some people comfortable. I'm talking about people who might have been undecided, regardless of ethnicity.
Yeah.
I think that was a really genuine moment where people were like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think that's because they don't understand that was her displaying restraint.
Oh, she was.
Instead of it being a brain fart.
Yeah. Well,
because it's two different things.
Yeah.
I think he was restrained.
I feel like
that's what I'm saying.
It was trying to keep from blacking out and
going there.
Yeah.
Which once again is restraint.
It's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't say this. Oh, I cannot.
Oh, you know what? Let me ask it. And I'm really not trying to be funny when I ask this question. Are we ready for a blackout in the White House? Like, are we ready for somebody to straight up blackout in the White House?
No, absolutely
not.
No. Had Barack been not part white and African?
I don't know. That tan suit got pretty close.
I don't know that. I don't know that he would have been accepted by us, because we do what they do to us, which is, are you black enough? Because right now we have people, they're not foundational black. Shut up.
Like, are you
Shut
asking?
up.
Are you asking? Are we ready for Samuel L. Jackson in the White House?
No.
Yes.
No. I am.
Could we have him at the Joint Chiefs
Me
of Staff,
personally,
though?
I deal with a vice president.
Okay.
Oh.
I deal with the vice president because you know one thing, it'll keep the president alive.
Oh yeah, because they don't want.
Because they don't want.
No, they don't want that. Eddie Murphy said that a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, if Jesse Jackson ran, you know, his Secret Service agents would have to be in top shape to keep up with him because he would have to be on the run.
Yeah.
You know, constantly moving. But I think I don't think any president, and I hope that we are going to have an Asian American, a Latina American, to occupy that office at some point.
You know what?
I don't think
I fully agree with that. If America is what America is supposed to be, since they came over and did what they did to it, you know, you might as well play it out.
I don't think that having someone who only speaks to one part of the country is good business, because you're only going to connect to those people from that part of the country when you have to be everybody's president. So, you know, would it be encouraging to know that you had somebody who can speak another language and address people who may be of another culture? Yes, that would be phenomenal, because really as Americans, we are lazy. We are lazy. Everywhere else, people know the minimum of 3 languages. And English is often their last language that they learn. But I don't, even cultural aside, Black, white, Latino, I don't want El Hombre talking about what's up, Holmes, running for office. Just like I don't know, you know, you heard me. I don't want that running for office as well, because I'm gonna listen to you because I'm from that part of the culture and that part of the United States. But that's not gonna unite everybody and connect everybody.
Yeah, it's again 504-582-9422. I would love to hear what the reality check people you know, if you feel that if you whether or not you learned something from the debate, I would love to hear that. Or if there is something else you want to see, because that's the other thing. The other question for me is, what does she have to do to get people from the side of undecided? What does she have to do to get people off the fence? I'm really very interested in that as well.
So she really needs to appeal to younger voters. If we consider the age of people who are, because we still have people who are maybe their stronghold of like 45 and up, feel like a woman should not be running the country. That's unfortunate, but that's a reality. Then you have another section that, because she's not white and she's also female, those people are not, that may be their stronghold. But the other side of that is looking at the people who are retired and have strongly supported Trump in the past. You have too many people that are against him, where, again, the bulk of new registrants for voting, they're the younger people. So you have to appeal to them. She showed that she's strong, that, you know, she's not a coward. She's shown that she's knowledgeable and at least has the brain material to hold the facts or hold the information that she needs to communicate. And then from then on, the other people who just don't want her, they just don't want her. Her. You're gonna have to wait until that demographic starts to transition on and Gen Alpha starts to come in, because Gen Alpha, I think, is around 16 right now, because this last Gen Z, this is around like 18 or 19. That's that last group of them. So Gen Alpha will be the next group that votes in the next president, and she really needs to be cultivating those kids. But he's turned off a lot of those kids already. The Gen Zers that are either new to being able to vote or who have voted in the last election, they're looking at their money. They're looking at the impacts. They are big on how you talk to people and the way that you address them. You're turning those off. And I mean, with the older people who are voting, I don't think there's many of them that are undecided. They've already decided. They're either voting for their party or they're voting on their own race best interests. Because at this point, I don't even think that the women who are supporting Trump, it's not about them as a woman. They just know they'll be taken care of because they're white.
Yeah.
Or they have the closest proximity to it.
Yeah,
They're protecting whiteness.
I one of the things I've noticed on social media a lot, especially TikTok, is that you do have this barrage of younger folks, and they are normally tail end millennials. Maybe they are front end Gen Zers who are doing these man on the street type interviews.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to Trump rallies and they're asking, all these logical questions, and they're listening to all the illogical answers from the cult. And then they really do fit the definition of a cult. They literally fit the definition. And it's interesting because their whole thing is they will hear these answers, and these kids are going, how could you even say that? Did you know? They'll ask historical questions, and these people at these rallies don't know the answers.
They don't.
And they talk loud. They're not, and all they're doing is talking loud and supporting Trump. That's all they're doing.
They're the
not
empty
really
vessels.
They're not trying to do anything that's going to benefit the country. They're just voting for whoever is
appealing to what it is.
They
want. Again, these people are protecting whiteness. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you know, and for people to have called him, an idiot and whatever the case is, and said that they are ridiculous, but you're still supporting him, why? Especially women. Why? Other than the fact that you are, you're protecting your space of whiteness, or you feel like you are so close to the approximation of whiteness that he's going to serve you. And the ones who are outside the actual whiteness, y'all have another thing coming. There's something else you're gonna have to face because they don't like you.
Well, the other mix is the other three things that really mix into this. This really, really weird, political soup that we have right now. And it's weird right now. Things are just weird. But the other things that mix into this would be the interests of the business community. You also have the mix of class that's involved in this. And then also the perception of power. And the people who seem to believe, the people who seem to believe that Trump is a better candidate, they seem to have this perception that he is a powerful person. And he projects that. He projects that. I mean, they listen to him in the debates, they listen to him interrupt people, and to them that's power, right? And we also know that power is often aligned with masculinity, and it's also aligned with white masculinity.
Well, until she demasculated him when she shook his hand.
You know what?
Because I really do feel like she checked him.
She did.
She checked him,
we saw what happened.
And in front of other people.
We saw what happened.
You
right.
tough? Well, your tough thing would have been for you to be like, nah, I'm not. And rather than that showed you as a gentleman, she punked you.
Yeah.
She punked you in front of your friends on top of that.
Yeah, we're going to continue the discussion. And again, your calls are more than welcome. 502-582-9422, 504-582-9422. It's a reality check. Eddie Francis in for Gerard Stevens, along with
Kimber White Dupree
on WBOK, the station New Orleans is listening to.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tony Flowers, Chief Diversity and Social Responsibility Officer at LCMC Health, and I want to bring you 5 tips to know for a great medical appointment. Number 1, know your questions. Make a short list of your most important questions and bring that with you to your appointment. Number 2, know what's being said. Ask your provider to speak in plain language, not those big long terms. Number 3, know the wellness plan. Ask your provider to explain the plan for your care in 3 simple steps. Number 4, know why the plan is important. Ask your provider to explain what will happen if you forget to follow the plan. And number 5, know your medications. Ask these questions to understand your medication. Why am I taking this? How will it help my condition? What time should I take it? What will happen if I miss a dose? We want you to build a great partnership with your providers and be in the know about your health. This is brought to you through a partnership of LCMC Health and the New Orleans Health Department. Be in the know.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
You know, there are some people who just light up your heart with a feeling of grace, peace, and comfort when you're in their presence. Mrs. Sybil Heidel Morial was such a person. With her recent passing, I am reminded of just how much she meant to the nation, the state, and her beloved city of New Orleans. Her quiet grace and eloquence belied her fierce resolve to wage a relentless battle in the fight for civil rights and human justice. It is well documented that she became the first African-American First Lady upon the election of her husband Dutch as the first African-American mayor of the Crescent City. But Sybil was a warrior in her own right. She fought alongside her husband as they together battled against the scions of bigotry and racial hatred. She would chronicle the death threats that she and Dutch received when he was president of the New Orleans NAACP in her memoir, Witness to Change, From Jim Crow to Political Empowerment. When denied a membership in the League of Women Voters because she was African American, Mrs. Morial formed an organization to help blacks vote. She was among the first to test the anti-integration policy against blacks attempting to enroll at both Tulane and Loyola universities. Neither accepted her as a student at the time because she was African American. A lifelong educator with 2 degrees from Boston University, she successfully challenged the statute prohibiting public school teachers from being involved in any organization advocating civil rights. Inasmuch as she and Dutch were champions of the civil rights movement, Sybil was also a guiding force for family, helping Dutch raise 5 children, including Mark Morial, who would follow in his father's footsteps, also becoming mayor of New Orleans, and a daughter, Monique Morial, who is an Orleans Parish judge and was recently elected to the 4th Circuit Court of Appeals without opposition. I shall miss Mrs. Morial, seeing her face, hearing her voice, forever reminding me of the power of grace, elegance, eloquence, dignity, and quiet resolve in the face of challenge and duress. My sincere gratitude and heartfelt condolences to the Morial and Heidel families. This is Norman Robinson, Off the Top.
Welcome back to school, families and scholars. NOLA Public Schools is excited to kick off another exciting year of learning, growth, and success. Our dedicated teachers have been preparing all summer to provide an engaging and enriching experience for every student. Let's embrace new challenges, celebrate achievements, and make this school year the best one yet. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS by visiting our social media channels. Here's to a year filled with curiosity, creativity, and community. Attend today, achieve tomorrow.
September is National Recovery Month and time to celebrate the millions of Americans in recovery. Metropolitan Human Services District wants to remind you that treatment is effective and everyone can recover. If you are looking for a recovery program and you live in the Orleans, St. Bernard, or Plaquemines Parish, visit mhsdla.org or call 504-568-3130. Recovery is possible, and MHSD is here to help. Metropolitan Human Services District, where we change lives. It's no secret that in New Orleans, we love good food just as much as we love our community. So why not make groceries while supporting local food producers too? Crescent City Farmers Market hosts year-round, rain or shine, where you can buy the region's freshest in-season produce, dairy, meat, seafood, and more. Using SNAP benefits at our market is easy, and with Market Match, you can double your dollars. Yes, that's right. Swipe your EBT card and we'll match every SNAP dollar, doubling your grocery budget so you can purchase more fresh fruits, vegetables, and food-bearing plants. Check us out on social media media and visit us at marketumbrella.org for dates and locations. See you at the market.
Tune in every Wednesday at 12 noon to What's Growing New Orleans, hosted by Angel Vanderpool. What's Growing New Orleans is a weekly conversation about developing and growing Black businesses throughout the region. Brought to you by the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce.
Sunday mornings are reserved for a good word on WBOK. This Sunday, be sure to catch Dr. Kevin Stevens Sr., the pastor of Christian Unity Church, for service and a powerful, full, inspiring word. Listen live every Sunday morning right here on WBOK.
Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey. That's that. Tune in to the reality check. Look. Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey. That's that. Tune in to the reality check. Look.
Then he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you.
She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. The people on television say my dog was taken and used for food.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
But the people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme.
Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. No, I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her.
I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race.
Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down, all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
She was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
And we are back with the reality check. I'm Eddie Francis in for Gerard Stevens on WBOK, along with
Kimbo White Dupree,
who is joining me this afternoon. Good to hang out with you, sis,
For
as
sure.
always. And we are back on the air, actually, 12:30 a.m. So if you are listening to us within the city of New Orleans or the surrounding area, we are back on air. Happy to be back on air. But tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend and share with a friend. We're streaming live also, WBOK1230.com on Facebook, YouTube, and the old app. And then also connect with us on Instagram at WBOK1230. And if you have any thoughts about this debate that happened the other night, then please feel free to share your thoughts with us. You can do that on Facebook. You can give us a call at 504-582-9422, especially if you feel that you learned something new about this. Going to Facebook, where we have a pretty active community at WBOK. Sandra Muhammad, she was listening earlier to The Breakfast Club, and Jill Stein was on there, Jill Stein of the Green Party. And she said that Jill Stein's opinion is that Harris will win the popular vote, but Sandra is concerned about the aftermath of the popular vote. The Stein and her running mate, Butch Ware, they actually want to abolish the Electoral College, like honestly a lot of us do, quite frankly.
That's the biggest problem around, because that's what actually gives validation to what people say. My vote doesn't count.
But but if we all thought like that, Georgia would never have flipped. And there's some other states who have turned. So if we all make no action, then we also avoid progress. I'm curious to see what Florida is going to end up looking like, because a lot of people who had voted for Trump and supported them are now, they are pulling back on that. And if they take that approach for the Electoral College votes that we know that we need in the system that we currently have, we can't talk about and operate on what we want. If we moved like that, what would have happened to the states that flipped?
Right. And to continue with Sandra's comment, she said in the Electoral College system, reality will throw our vote away, which we'll get to in a second. Because if you only live in one of the 4 or 5 states, it's already decided that your state is going to go red or blue before you even get into the booth. And like he said, and that is Butch Ware, who funds you runs you. And I would offer an alternate view. And the alternate view that I would offer there is that if you decide that you're not going to vote because of the Electoral College, then you are guaranteeing that Electoral College is going to do its thing. But if
you are not voting toward a party that's actually going to swing in one way or another, you are in practice throwing your vote away.
Now, the part I do agree with is that I do agree that unfortunately the Republicans and the Democrats are in cahoots. And I will explain what I mean by that when we come back.
Bring on a third party.
We need an alternative, but we have to stop waiting till it's election time to decide that.
Yes.
It is the Reality Check on WBOK, the station New Orleans is listening to.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans, home of the Reality Check, weekdays 1 to 4 p.m.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Vice President Kamala Harris, who is black, is back on the campaign trail following Tuesday's debate. She held a rally in Charlotte, one of 2 events in North Carolina planned for the day, where she touted endorsements from high-profile conservatives. Harris said she will always put country above party and be a president for all Americans. Polls in key battleground states have shown Harris and Trump in extremely tight races. The criminal charges that former President Trump faces in Fulton County, Georgia is down to 8. Judge Scott McAfee dismissed 2 charges, but the most serious count of racketeering still remains. That single charge would result in at least 5 years in prison. Services are coming up this weekend for 2 victims in the Appalachia High School shootings. A memorial service will be held Saturday for 14-year-old Mason Schermerhorn, who is black, at the Jefferson Civic Center in Jefferson, Georgia. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Celebrating hardworking teachers of New Orleans Public Schools is what we do best. Join New Schools for New Orleans, Allstate, Sugar Bowl, and Integer New Orleans in recognizing and celebrating the Teachers of the Year at our 3rd annual New Orleans Excellence in Teaching Awards Gala. If you want to check out the awardees in the schools where they teach at, please visit Noeta, Noeta.org. You can also purchase tickets to the gala via the website too. Let's send these teachers some love for all the hard work they do with our students.
Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey. That's that. Tune in to the Reality Check. Look. Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey. That's that. Tune in to the reality check. Look.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats.
It was an extraordinary claim. So what is really going on in Springfield, Ohio? What do you think about it? Have you heard about it?
I've heard about it, but I haven't seen anything really.
Yeah. And you're not worried about your dog?
No.
But who's eating them? I have no idea.
But then a man who didn't want to be on camera with a hint of how these conspiracies are seeded.
I've never seen nothing going on with the dogs and the cat, except what I've seen on TikTok with the Springfield police. Yeah. Arresting the lady for eating a cat. Yeah. That's. And she was from Ohio. I think she's from Haiti, wasn't she?
Why'd you kill the cat? This is the video he's seen. Police footage of a woman being arrested for allegedly killing and eating a cat. Yes, but she isn't a Haitian migrant. She is American. She was born here. And this isn't Springfield either. Across this town, we have not found anyone who has seen pet-eating immigrants. The dogs seem safe. The cats are roaming loose. The instinct then may be to laugh at this Trumpian rhetoric. Indeed, the Haitians of Springfield can see the funny side too.
The Haitian don't hitting the cat, the dog. No, it's not no culture to hitting that.
Montes, Lewis. But within this cat and dog story, there are some actual truths, because there are huge challenges here over immigration.
This is your passport and your paperwork.
Vitio is one of 15,000 who have arrived here in this town from war-torn Haiti since 2000. The pressures on services and society are understandable. Casey Rawlings runs the center.
How did you feel when you heard Donald Trump's words the other night?
I was physically ill. Still am. I can't even react. I mean, I can't even repeat it. It's just unfathomable to me. But that's what happens when hysteria is spread, and, all kinds of fictional narratives. And it's really, really doing harm to our world.
We looked at another view from another Springfield resident that has gone viral.
I feel like we have been invaded by some sort of pest. I'm angry that my friends and family are packing up and moving away. I'm angry that foreigners are using up the resources that were set up for the Americans that reside here.
Every community, every culture has its myth and its folklore. I guess we're hearing it.
And so there it is, the anatomy of a conspiracy about cats and dogs in a country where there are so many different truths.
Lord.
And that actually is from Sky News. Now, so, I love it when the British report on what's happening in America. It is hilarious. They already have a great sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Already.
Now let's go check this out.
Yeah.
See what's really going
right.
on.
Leave it to the Daily Mail, Sky News, or the Guardian to actually say, okay, America, this is what's really happening in your country. In case you haven't figured that out by now, but yeah, that was a story shared.
So yeah,
from
that's
Sky
the
News.
receipts on the cats and dogs being eaten by immigrants in Haiti.
Yeah.
So the thing that again bothers me the most about not just conspiracies, you only need something that sounds true-ish for people to believe it, right?
Right.
Again, we know people
Man,
in other
ain't that the truth?
Right. We only need people from other cultures. We know that they don't eat foods or they include in their diets things that we as Americans do not include in our diets. But the same can be said about people who are from other states. Some people eat things in other states that we don't include in our diets, but it only needs a little bit of true-ish in order for people to take it and run with it. Again, identifying people based on skin color and assuming certain behaviors from them. All black people do is fight and shoot each other. Well, I'm black. What are you turning black today? And so with that said, this being a black radio station, who has been a part of gun violence or has shot and killed or been shot and harmed in the people, just the personalities that you hear on the air. That's one thing, right? To assume that all white people are doing well is also something that is a misinformation or disinformation, because I know a lot of poor white people. You see them in the grocery store. You often see them missing teeth in the grocery store, and they are complaining and speaking the same rhetoric that Trump is speaking, but they have none of the benefits that Trump has. Okay? So you only need a little bit of true-ish. The Haitians are eating people's dogs. I'm already in a situation where I am under pressure and I don't have the resources that I need. So it's got to be somebody else's fault who does not look like me, who does not identify as I do. So therefore, it's got to be their fault. Just a little thread of truth will get stories to stick to people who will carry the flag for nonsensical information.
Yeah, and I'll come back to that in just a little bit, but I wanted to pick back up, where we left off before the break. When Sandra commented that the electoral college and the power it has, and the Democrats and the Republicans, and I am one of those folks who I am annoyed by the power of the two-party system.
Agreed.
I really am.
Agreed.
We had on the front porch last week a professor of political history by the name of Darryl Carter. And he's at East Tennessee State University. And one of the questions I asked him was the historical significance, or at least I asked him about historically, where did we get to this point where there was going to be this two-party system, this dominant two-party system? And he said the thing that I think a lot of us don't want to hear, especially those who are married to either the GOP or the Democratic Party. And he said, listen, those two parties have worked together to lock out third parties. And that's not news, because for the 2000 election, I voted for Ralph Nader. I was actually this close, as I hold my fingers together, to joining the Green Party. Because to me, they made the most sense.
Okay.
I voted for Ralph Nader because Ralph Nader made the most sense to me. But I also voted for Ralph Nader because I was extremely annoyed that they would not allow Ralph Nader on the debate stage, the national debate stage. I thought at the time that Ralph Nader would wipe the floor with George W. Bush and Al Gore. I was confident he would, and I still think he would. I still think he would have done it. And I really think that they did it out of fear. I think that they would not let him on. Now, what did the Democrats and Republicans do? They said, well, he has to be on the ballot in a certain number of states. That's the only way we can let him onto the debate stage. And so when people express this annoyance with the Democrats and the Republicans and how they have seemingly, and according to a political historian, actually have locked out third and fourth party and fifth party possibilities.
Because there are other parties that
there are
exist.
a lot of political parties in this country, a lot.
They're just not viable.
So the question becomes, why are they not viable? So that's the question.
So
why?
And because there's this one thought, and it's true. Just like I said about the Electoral College, right? It's true, right? I hate to say it, but it's true. Our votes are merely suggestions to someone else to cast the ballot, who is not bound by law to follow our suggestions.
So
this is the Electoral College, right?
This is where I see Kemba's point. And Kemba's point is the math has the math. And the way it has the math.
But here's the thing. They're not bound by law to follow the math.
But
they can easily go against what the numbers say if they want to.
But that's the thing, though, right? With the people that are in those positions, you very seldomly see, and matter of fact, I don't know that it's been recorded that people have voted against the interests of the people in. So while it's possible, it is possible, just
not
like
probable.
It is possible that a convicted felon would be running for office.
Not possible.
Because if we're looking at the Constitution,
now it's probable.
It should suggest that you should not have a felon, but is it written? No. So the probability is not likely.
Exactly.
But it is actually happening. But you very seldomly, I don't even know if there is ever been recorded that people do not vote in the interest of the people of
Right.
their state.
But
But this is my issue with people saying, well, I'm gonna throw my vote away and throw to something else. Because your state's gonna automatically be red or blue. If that's the case, we would not have had so many different states that were traditionally one color turn a completely different color.
It's happened
and
many times.
It's happened multiple
Many
times.
times,
But if you
yeah.
sit on your hands or you have this pseudo protest that's going to impact me, because
So-
you clear, I'm not worried about you, but it's selfish. It's going to impact me. Then your protest, people protesting,
so-
what's the
well,
overall
hold
impact?
On. Well, hold on. So let's think about this. So, because the question was, what's stopping a third party from becoming viable?
Money.
The one thought. No, not money too, but not just money. The mind frame that a third party cannot win.
Right.
They can. If they see,
but that's what I'm saying.
what's
I'm
his
saying it's
face?
the mind frame
Bernie.
that a lot of people think that a third party are solely spoilers.
Bernie was a viable candidate.
Bernie was a viable
Bernie was old.
Bernie was old.
And he was the old man shaking his fist at people.
Yeah.
That turned people off. I heard his message and I was like, yeah, I'm cool with this. Elizabeth Warren was another one. I was like, okay, I hear what you're saying. Money is like you can
Definitely
run
money
locally.
is definitely number
You can
one.
run locally without a whole lot of money, but
Not
nationally,
nationally.
it
No,
ain't gonna happen.
But I think the blind spot in all of this, whether we have our frustrations with the two-party system, and those are frustrations that are definitely understandable and they are very real. And I definitely understand the frustration of people saying, "Well, I'm going to throw my vote away." What people tend to forget, though, is that in between presidential elections are a bunch of little elections
That actually count.
that actually can move the needle.
Yes.
What happens is that we stay at home during the midterms.
Yes.
And you stayed home
that
during the
hurts
governor's
every time.
race.
And we stay at home during the governor's races. And there are domino effects that happens in politics. You get your person in the office in one spot. I mean, listen, this is how we got the Supreme Court that we got. It was a domino effect. This didn't just happen in one election. It was a series of elections where people stayed home and they said, well, my vote isn't going to matter. So I understand that frustration. I get it. I don't disagree with it. However, I posted this on Facebook last week and it got one heck of a reaction. And what I posted was, making people lose hope is a political strategy and it works.
Yep.
And this debate is actually evidence of that. If you have people saying my vote is a throwaway, then you've lost hope.
Yep.
And somebody has convinced you that your vote is not going to work. So, what did we have happen earlier this year that everybody seems to forget about? A huge story in Caddo Parish, an enormous story. And it was a story of the Caddo Parish sheriff. In this race, a candidate won by literally a vote. Now, of course, in Caddo Parish, this was not popular because that candidate who won was black.
Yep.
The first black sheriff in Caddo Parish's history. And Henry Whitehorn is his name. He got 53% of the vote.
Which should suggest that he won.
Right. Which would suggest that he won. Now, of course, his opponent didn't like that one bit. His opponent had been in office, and so what happened? They took it to court, and they went ahead and they appealed it, and the court tossed it out. The court tossed it out, and Henry Whitehorn in March became the sheriff. The man won by one vote. What if?
One more time. He won by how many votes?
He won by one vote. Now, you may say to yourself, well, that's a sheriff's race. But it has a domino effect.
My favorite example.
It has a domino effect. So you get this sheriff's race where your candidate wins. That puts wind behind your back for another race
Yep.
and another race and another race.
But-
But what you have to do is you have to get out and vote in the races that you think don't matter. That's
Now,
the thing.
Here's the next thing about that, right? What's going to be the influence of this sheriff winning in Cato Parish, right? For starters, that's going to have some influence on what happens with state policing when it's
Mhm.
time to communicate. When you start talking about the police brutality with Black people in Cato Parish, because there are plenty of them that live. Matter of fact, Kennedy, our intern Kennedy is from Shreveport, right? So when we talk about fair policing, somebody that fought for this position and who you know their work record reflects that he has fought for people that look like you, that's going to add additional support. But if you don't show up, if that one person had not shown up,
That one person.
you would not have had.
Well, if two people hadn't shown
Well,
up.
you would
If
not
two,
have had.
technically.
Right. If you would not have had this effect. They took it to court. They tried to take it back, in which a lot of people say, oh, they're taking us to court. We automatically going to lose. This is another case in practice.
And people did assume that people
This is
assumed
another
it was
case
over.
in
They
practice
did. Yes.
where
Yes.
he did not lose. And in addition to that, you now have the first Black sheriff in Shreveport.
And that just happened so disrespectfully too.
Yeah,
it happened so disrespectfully. It was like, nah, we're gonna get a recount. We really don't care what you got to say about it. Yeah,
Even though it's already been recorded that I won.
But what it took is it took a community in Shreveport or in Caddo Parish. It took a community fighting together.
Yep.
And having a don't say quit attitude.
And the population, if you know anything about Shreveport, Louisiana, it's not all Black.
No.
And it's a very poor parish.
Ooh,
I mean,
trust
they
me.
have like
I've
everything
been
is
to-
not
I've been to
everything is
Caddo
not
many
on
times.
everything is not on the riverfront between Bossier and Shreveport. It's not like it's not a rich parish for either color of people. So it didn't just take the Black population of that community to tip the needle. It was everybody who said we want to see something different.
And it should not be overlooked. While we may not think it here in South Louisiana, Shreveport has political power in this state.
It does.
And so that has to be considered. That has to be considered in this discussion. So it's not necessarily that I think that what Jill Stein, or Butch Ware, I don't think what they said was wrong. But I do believe that there's another way to look at this. And I do believe that what we have to consider is that if you do nothing, you're guaranteed to get more of the same.
Yep.
And that is what we have to keep talking about in our community. So we're going to be back with more of the reality check. I'm Eddie Francis in for Gerard Stevens, along with
Kimba White Dupree
on WBOK, the station New Orleans is listening to.
Hey, this is D. Riley from the 90s Hits R&B Jams. Make sure you listen to WBOK 1230 AM every Saturday night from 7 until 9 p.m. I'll be giving you the best R&B jams from the 90s. That's right, all your favorites and more. With me, D. Riley, your host of the 90s Hits, right here on WBOK 1230 AM, or listen online at WBOK1230.com. WBOK, the station you listen to longer.
Hello, WBOK listening audience. This is Pastor Robert Tanner of the Community Church of River Ridge, Louisiana, inviting you to tune in to our Sunday morning broadcast at 10 a.m. every Sunday morning right here on WBOK 1230 AM. That's Community Church with Pastor Robert Tanner every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on WBOK 1230.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
A message from the community scientist. Do you live or work in St. James, St. John, St. Charles, Ascension, Calcasieu, Baton Rouge, or St. Bernard parishes? If so, it's important for you to understand objective information about 1,3-butadiene, volatile organic compounds, methane, and mercury, and how they impact your health and the natural environment. The Community Scientist is a service program of Rise St. James. Learn more at risestjames.org.
It's Gerald McBride here, letting you know how Chevrolet is supporting the next generation of black professionals. For the 8th summer in a row, Chevrolet is teaming up with the National Newspaper Publishers Association to power the futures of 10 multi-talented, historical black college and university students with the Discover the Unexpected Fellowship. Together, these stellar fellows will drive their legacy, owning their story in the Chevrolet tracks. Visit nnpa.org/ChevyDTU to learn more.
New Orleans Burlesque is back. The Red Light District, located on the second floor of your New Orleans headquarters by Nice Guys, presents a captivating, international, award-winning burlesque experience that will leave you breathless. Indulge in the sounds of our Grammy Award-winning quartet and exceptional food pairings each and every Saturday. To purchase tickets, visit Eventbrite.com, and remember, what happens in the Red Light District stays in the Red Light District.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey. That's that. Tune into the reality check. Look. Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey. That's that. Tune into the reality check. Look.
And we are back with the reality check. Eddie Francis in for Gerard Stevens, broadcasting live on air. Back on air we are from the campus of Xavier University of Louisiana. Let's go straight to the phone lines. Good afternoon, Mr. Harrell. What's up?
Yes, I was listening to the young people, and I was calling you from Altadena Mountains yesterday, but now, I'm down in the flatline, and I can hardly hear you. Are you there?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
we're here. We're here. We're listening.
Okay. And they were talking about what they were talking about today. They're very intelligent, but there are some things that they don't quite understand. So I thought I would just call in and holler a little bit. The creek that they're talking about is here today as we speak. So he was at a rally last night in Beverly Hills. The tickets were from $3,000 to $250,000. And he used to own 2 houses here in Beverly Hills. But what you have to understand, what they need to understand, is about the whole thing is about racism. And it's across the board. So voting is good and all of that, and you should vote. But you should understand who you are. That's the main thing, is to understand who you are. Now, the way I had a friend that was a cartoonist. He's deceased now, but you could talk about something, he could make up a cartoon out of it. Well, what I wanted to say, let me say this. Kamala Harris was not nervous at all, not at all. But I would liken it to you having a dinner party and you invite somebody that has defecated and urinated in their pants, and you try to adjust how to relate to that individual. So her level of intelligence, she should not even be there to debate anything with this felon. And what most black people, I won't say most, a number of black people don't understand is the everything is powered by something. And he's powered by racism. And when he started out talking about making America great again, they speak to each other in code. And what he means is elevating racism like it was and like it is today. But when you know who you are, when you're educated, then this goes right by you. The reason I call your show is that they said something about older people, and I keep plastering it on your airways. I'm 87 years old, 87, and life has been good for me, really good. And I know some people, life should, well, let me say this, life should be good for everybody that wants it to be good. And the reason it is not is because you might, and I'm saying this figuratively, you might not have the information that you need to make your life good. And it is incumbent on you to gather information. And I make an effort to share some things, how life has been for me. And you need to plan what you're doing, how you live, and where you live. So what I'm saying to you, the key thing is politics and racism. And on both sides of the aisle, you have all of that. So anyway, you're talking that for somebody to stoop as low and talking about somebody eating cats and dogs and all that kind of thing, you know they have limited capacity. And when the creep got out of the car here today on television, he looked like he had been drug in by the dog. And he's still here. So what I'm saying to you, now all the Haitians that I know, they are educated people. My brother-in-law is Haitian. And if you watch CBS in the morning, Glad is Haitian. And my brother-in-law talks to his father. So, and any negative thing about Haiti, this country is responsible for doing it. If you know anything about how the government works and how things work, then you might see it a little bit different. But the key thing I like to promote is education. Once you get, and I mean real education, not that you know that 1 plus 2 is 3. And when you know who you are, when you get educated. Now, I heard you say something about the radio station, New Orleans and surrounding, but you are heard all over the country, all over the world. So anyway, the only reason that Kamala won't win is because of racism. That's some of what I have to say. But life can be good. It should be good. We as black people, my mother was black. My father was black. I've told Gerard this. Gerard is one of my favorite colored people. But, and I'm kind of black.
Oh.
So anyway, if you learn who you are, if you get educated, chances are you'll have a little problem.
Well, thank you so much for that, Mr.
Thank
Harold.
you so much, Mr. Harold. All right, we got Dr. Sanyika on. How you doing, Doc?
Well, I'm just intrigued by the nature of the conversation that you all are having, because you are speaking to so much of my experience, my professional experience, dating back to the 60s, when we were actively engaged in trying to develop a black political party in this country. Going all the way back to the first Black Power Conference in 1966, the second one in 1968. I'm sorry, the first one was 1967, the second one was 1968. And we also had a national convention trying to draft Dr. King and Dr. Spock to run for president and vice president to build an independent progressive political party at that time. Then we revisited the issue again back in 1972 when we had the National Black Political Convention. And there was the question of should we form a black political party or should we align ourselves within, some other political party. That debate was occurring then, and in 1976 it occurred again when we tried to get Julian Bond to run for president and Ron Dellums to run for president. That didn't happen, but it was on the agenda. And in 1980 there was a convention in New Orleans, and there was a declaration to form a national black independent political party. It's called NBIP. Happened right down there at the Hyatt Hotel. Farrakhan was there, and Vin Chavez was there, and Father McKnight was there, Ron Daniels was there, I was there, etc. A whole bunch of black folks were there about declaring that we're going to form a black political party. Well, they made that declaration and didn't last for a year. And this process has gone on and on among black activists and among some black political scientists about how to use the black vote more intelligently than we do, because we give it to the Democrats, but they don't always give back to us the services, the goods and services that we deserve legitimately, so in proportion to the political votes that we provide to them. That's a real problem. Third parties have value, in my opinion, and they have merit. The difficulty is trying to convince people in America that a third-party dynamic can result in a redistribution of political power in the country. That's where we usually have the problem. And I'm just telling you, every time we've gone through this conversation about a black political party, a lot of people say, yeah. But when it comes to making the move to do it, that's when a lot of people raise questions about, can you really form a successful black political party or a multinational black political party that will result in some kind of changes and benefits for our community? That's when they get the debate, and when political elections start to come around, they don't see the presence of independent third parties uniformly across the country. You can't just say, I'm going to run for president as a third party, and you think you're going to build a third party, because it doesn't happen like that. These third parties don't get built at the local level. So they get run for national office, and then that's the end of the story. That's one of the weaknesses that they have. So what I'm just trying to say here is the idea of an independent black political party has had merit for a very long period of time. There are good things that could come from that if we were able to successfully do it. The problem is building the organization with the kind of discipline and commitment to the notion of the need for an independent party that allows us to intelligently use our vote in our best interest. That's where we run into problems. That's where we run into difficulties. And as a consequence of that, we don't really believe that we can form a third party, because every time we've tried that in American history, not just the era of the 60s, but even before that, when it is tried, it usually does not result in a successful political operation. So
Doc,
I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
Wait, Doc, I have a question for you specifically.
Sure.
As we talk about different issues that affect and impact Black people, I don't know so much that we are having the difficulty or the discipline. We're having the difficulty in figuring out what's going to benefit all of us, because we have breakouts of Black people in Black culture. We have people who identify some Black people as non-foundational Black people, which means they are people that are from different countries, which means they're not real Black. Then we have the people who are separating themselves by class. We also have people who separate themselves by color and by education and the like. We can't figure out a way to unify, to figure out what's going to make the biggest impact for us as a whole.
So your question to me is,
So how do we get things around that? Because we have some of us, we have different religious practice, but if you don't practice this religion, then your ideas are really not important. If you
No, I
don't
understand
identify,
what you're saying. Yeah, I got you.
yeah,
Let me
if you're not
respond to it real
straight,
quick.
if
Let me see
you
if I can
love differently, then you can't be included under the umbrella by
let me
which
let me
you
see
are
if I can
classified.
respond. Let me see if I can respond, Kimber, because that's an ancient old problem that we've had in black communities. The concept of a united front, where we find the things that we can agree on in common, and recognize that there are some things where we may have more difficulty agreeing on. I think that's the best we can do to get to the next step and the next stage is to try to identify our common interests together. Because there are going to be some things we don't have in common, and there were some people who may not be desirous, I think, of trying to work together on any common problems. I think you will always find some of that in everybody's community. And, of course, in ours, it's pretty announced. But I think that in order to get to where this conversation is raising as a possibility, you got to get to a united front. What is it in our common interest that the existing political parties are not doing for us that might suggest the need for something new and something different? That's what needs to be discussed very widely with people to see if you can get an agreement on a common answer to that. And if you can get an agreement on a common answer to that, then I think you can have another conversation. If you don't get an agreement on a common answer to that, then I don't think you can move forward because everybody's individual notions will dominate the effort to put the group together to try to move forward. So I've always believed in the notion of a united front. We're not going to agree on everything together, but can we identify the common interests that allow us to work together so that we can move towards the next step of what we please? We certainly found in all that stuff I just narrated to you, we certainly had this problem, Kimberly. It's always been there with different classes among the black community, sometimes castes among the black community, religious and color differences. They've always been there. But the question remains, what can we work together on that's our common interest? Are we being exploited and taken advantage of by the same process, the same people? Are we being oppressed the same way? Are we being exploited the same way? Is our humanity being threatened and challenged by the same process and the same people? Because if we all can say yes to that, then maybe we can say, well, we need to work together on trying to turn all that around. I mean, like the school system we know is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we get organized parents together in such a way that they say, no, we don't want this system anymore, such that they can start a movement to do something about it and challenge it and change it? I've always been confused about why our parents who know that school system is not educating our children right have not taken the energy to try to change it and make it into something that is more to the liking of the parents. I've always been a little bit unclear about why that, for instance, has not happened. And then I hear all sorts of responses that people have about why. But that's the essential question, whether it's in politics, economics, education, culture. That's where I think we don't spend enough time talking with each other about common interests. And that's where I think we have problems organizing ourselves, because somebody wants everybody to agree with what they got to say. And their position, and they're right and everybody else is wrong. That's not going to cut it. But that's what tends to happen in these conversations. You know, somebody believes they got the idea, well, this is what black people should do. And if you don't agree with their position, you know, they get angry or they get upset or they don't want to work with anybody else. And that tends to be what goes on when you really try to do that organizing. And I'm hoping that the new and next generation of young black people, because I'm in my 80s now too, but I'm hoping that the generations behind us can find a way to overcome this problem and figure out how can we work together with each other about the common interests that we do have. And I do believe we have common interests because we all catching hell together. We're getting exploited together the same way. I mean, the white folks still got the power. You know, they still have control, and we don't. And so it escapes me why we can't look at each other and say, okay, what's your interest? Can we work around your interests? Can we work around my interests together? You know, can we just find out how to collaborate with each other because we're catching the same hell?
Yeah.
I mean, I just get confused about that.
Hey, Dr. Sanyika, I have a real quick historical question for you, because we hear all the time, you know, black folks are dissatisfied with the Democrats. There are black folks who are dissatisfied. So before we had the Dixiecrats flip over to the Republican Party,
right,
and the Republican Party was more friendly to black folks, did black folks have the same complaints about the Republican Party? Do you know?
Yeah. That's why they left it.
So this is an age old frustration.
So it's not really party specific.
Remember,
it's organization and demand specific.
The power during the Civil War era was the Republican Party. They were the Democrats of today. That is to say, they were the ones who were supposedly the friends of black people in the struggle called the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln and his party was the Republican Party. But there was a limit to how far they were willing to go in terms of the need to change the structure of American politics and economics if you were talking about freedom for black people. They weren't willing to take that next step to change the systemic structures of racism 100 years ago. They weren't willing to do that. You know, some of them were, don't get me wrong, but I mean, as a party, they didn't go out of their way to say, well, once Reconstruction is over, we're going to have to fight for black people, because the Dixiecrats destroyed the Reconstruction period, and the Republicans didn't stop them. They made that compromise of 1876 about the election and the Hayes-Tilden Compromise that resulted in the withdrawal of the troops from the South, that opened up the Jim Crow era and the Ku Klux Klan and all of that. That was a deal that the Dems and the Republicans had made about an election that was in dispute. So when it's been in the interest of the other people to be our allies, they have done so. When it's in their interest to be our adversary, they've also done so. We have not been able to faithfully trust that. What you hope that happens historically is that a new group of younger people emerge who don't think the way these old people think. That's what I'm hoping we can find in the next level of this, is a new group of people in America who believe in a multiracial, multicultural democracy for all citizens, and who can respect our rights as for self-determination and for control of our spaces and the development of us as a people as anybody else would legitimately want. And when they make a commitment that is the kind of society they're going to build, maybe there's hope for us. And that's what I'm hoping in 25 years, because in 25 years, you know what's supposed to happen? The country turns of color.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping, that there will be a new progressive group of people of all nationalities and races who say, we don't want to live the old way we have been living in this country. We want to do something new. I think Kamala is the beginning of that. I don't think she's the end.
Correct.
But I think she's the beginning. I think she's the beginning of opening the door to help us think about this in a different way. And that's the value that I see, if nothing else. And the fight against the racism, you know, of Donald Trump and his gang. You know, she is fighting to destroy that, and we all have to fight to destroy that. And maybe our votes don't mean everything all the time, but I tell you what, this time, if we put enough votes in there, the Electoral College will not have a choice. They won't have a choice. If we vote enough, they won't have a choice. That's why I'm working hard in those battleground states to try to make sure that we just swamp them. And they won't even have the opportunity to do anything other than concede, though they might put up a fight. But believe me, people are right now planning and will not let the same thing that happened last time go down again like that. They're not going to take that like that. No. They got plans in place, legal and tactical and every other level. And I think we all should just be aware that we are at a breaking point in this country. What happens in this election is going to determine the future of this country. I'm hoping Kamala is the beginning of the new wave. And that's what I would say to anybody else please join in and let's all try to take it to the next level.
Absolutely.
All right, Dr.
so much,
Sangiga,
Dr.
thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
very
calling
much
in.
for allowing me to share. And you all have a good weekend. And I trust and pray everybody is safe in New Orleans and the hurricane has been swept away. Huh?
Thank you, sir. Have a wonderful weekend.
It's done. Thank you so much.
Yes.
That was a refreshing
That
call.
was.
Thank you so
and
much,
it really
Doc.
did.
Appreciate
It did. I hope that people in listening, yes, I said before, the focus has to be on the young people because we have people who are aging out. It's just a fact of life. In time, there will be a point where people who had that fermented way of thinking that are not going to be here now. 25 years from now, I think it's going to happen before 25 years from now, where the country is going to be more people of color, which is why the abortion ban is so important to white people, because white women at one point stay at home, their husband make the money, they have babies. White women don't want to do that anymore. A great deal of them have decided they don't want to do that anymore.
It's a generational attitude.
But in general, not just white people, in general, people are like, yeah, that was the way things used to go. I'm not really interested in doing that anymore. Maybe I have other things that I want to do. Where people my age, there are a couple of people that are my age who have not had children and wish they had had children, but are fine with their life being the way it is, or they have had enough. They have now enough disposable income that if they decided that they wanted to, they could. Don't impose this upon people who don't want this. Yeah. That does not have to be the way of life anymore.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and take a commercial break and finish this last stretch of the reality check. I'm Eddie Francis in for Gerard Stevens on WBOK, the station New Orleans is listening to.
Hey y'all, it's Chef Bunny, and I'm the host of The Roux, where we will be discussing all things food and NOLA. You can catch me live on air Thursdays at 12:30 p.m., so check out what we'll be cooking up on WBOK 12:30 a.m.
You might wonder, John Legend, how do you keep your voice sounding so legendary? Honey. And how do I keep my protection against COVID-19 up to date? With a COVID shot this season, designed for recent variants.
You can get your COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC.
The fresher, the better.
Ask your healthcare provider about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Sunday mornings are reserved for a good word on WBOK. This Sunday, be sure to catch Dr. Kevin Stevens Sr., the pastor of Christian Unity Church, for service and a powerful, full, inspiring word. Listen live every Sunday morning right here on WBOK.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 12:30 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
Ugh, I've been feeling so sluggish and just kind of blah.
Been there. That's why I take Align yogurt-coated probiotic fruit bites.
But I suppose they taste blah.
Actually, they taste delicious. It's an apple blueberry flavored center covered in a yogurt coating and is infused with probiotics to help support a healthy gut. They come 5 in a pouch. I just toss one in my bag and go.
Toss one in my bag?
Get your own.
New Align yogurt-coated probiotic fruit bites from the makers of the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Find them in the digestive care aisle.
Mount Hermon Baptist Church Hospitality presents The New Black Wall Street, Saturday, September 21st at 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. Have a chance to introduce your products and services to a captivating audience. Calling all small business owners, food vendors, authors, body care products, wellness boutiques, clothing merchandise, and much more at Mount Hermon Baptist Church, 3512 U.S. Highway 90 in Avondale. This event is free to the public. To become a vendor or for more information, contact 504-436-8062.
This is the coach, Garrett Sachere. The Sports Report is coming up next on WBOK 1230 a.m.
Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey, 12:30 a.m. That's that. Tune in to the reality check. Look. Who bring the power to the people, partner? Who bring the power to the hood home? Hey, AM 12:30. That's that. Tune in to the reality check. Look.
Hey, welcome back to the Reality Check. Eddie Francis in for Gerard Stevens, along with
Kimbo White Dupree.
And taking a quick look at the Entergy website to see where we are as far as power is concerned. We have just over 81,500 people without power still. Terrebonne is where we have the most folks who still need power. That number is 19,500 plus. And also, let's see what we got going in Orleans Parish. So right now, according to Entergy, we have just over 5,700 people without power. And we have, let's see, because the site decided to refresh on me. I mean, hey, at least it's refreshing.
Right.
That's a good
it's
sign.
Updating. So
that's a good sign. So Jefferson, we have just over 12,200 people,
which is down
without
from 15,000 earlier.
Yeah. So I mean, the numbers are going down.
We're looking like in Orleans Parish.
Orleans, it's a pretty low number overall.
Wait, Orleans is down to 5,746. They were at 47,000 yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So that's a very big reduction of numbers. Yeah.
And even from right now, so now we're just under 81,000. Mm-hmm. So the power is being restored. And so if you're someone who is still waiting for your power to come on, it is coming. It's coming.
On.
Yep.
It's coming.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and steal some thunder from the sports report now. Because it's Friday.
It is.
It's Football Friday. And so let's see what we got as far as the HBCUs are concerned. So Southern at Jackson State. They have to go to Jackson State tomorrow, 6 p.m. Southern is 1-1. Grambling is going to be at Texas A&M Commerce at 6. So I used to live in the Dallas area. A&M Commerce actually has a good team.
Okay.
So we're going to see what Grambling can do with them. And we have other games. Of course, everybody wants to know what's happening with LSU. LSU is number 16. They're going to be at South Carolina tomorrow at 11 a.m. They're 1-1. And Tulane. Now, this is the game of the weekend.
Versus Oklahoma. Is that OU?
Yeah, locally.
The Sooners?
This is the game of the weekend. Tulane at number 15, Oklahoma at 2:30. Tulane's 1-1. I'm telling you, they could have beaten Kansas State last week. Tulane's quarterback, young brother.
Okay.
Young brother. He's a redshirt freshman out of California.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Darian Mensah. That brother is smooth as butter. He is good.
All I got is sports.
I know. That's all. I'm working with you right now. I'm letting you know what's happening. This is for you.
Yes,
this is for your benefit, so you can understand.
Of course.
SLU is playing Eastern Washington. Eastern Washington is coming to Hammond to play. That's tomorrow at 6 p.m. SLU is looking for the first win, and
the Saints.
I'm gonna swallow hard on this. My Tennessee State Tigers. My Tennessee State Tigers, man.
They're playing.
Come on, Tigers. Y'all can do it, man. Y'all just got to play UAPB.
Okay.
Y'all can take them.
Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Take them. Come on, Eddie. You can do it. Coach Eddie George. You can do it. I know. No local interest
I know who that is. That's who's married to Taj from SWB.
That's exactly who that is. You're right.
See?
There you go.
Sports.
Good job. Excellent job. And the Saints are playing the Cowpokes on Sunday at noon. This is a big game. I would say this is one of the biggest probably in the league.
It is.
Because people are just intrigued by this matchup.
I want some people, as you all are looking at sports this weekend, to go and look at the history of cheerleaders. How cheerleaders went from all male squads, then transitioned into ladies with the very, very long cheerleading skirts. And now that most of the NFL, air quote, cheerleading squads are actually dance team. There's no cheering involved.
Is it? So the Saints did something really interesting, though. They converted the Saints-sations to, I forget what they call them.
I don't know.
Cheer something?
Cheer group.
What are they now?
They're the cheer group. But the Saints did have a cheerleading squad because
the Angels.
Lewis, he used to own Winning Circle Gymnastics. He was a gymnastics coach who was also a cheerleader for New Orleans Saints. So they had a cheer squad.
They did.
But now across the NFL, there are no they're called cheerleaders, even including the Dallas cheerleaders, but there's no cheering involved.
I was going to say, you can blame the Cowboys. You can blame them because they're the ones who turned them into a dance group. And, they wore the white boots and the skimpy white shorts.
But
and
at one point
70s,
they
that was a big deal.
cheer, but they
did.
But the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders are influenced by a burlesque dancer and a stripper.
Not a surprise.
I want y'all to look that up over the weekend. We went from men to long skirts to stripping / dancers.
Do this for Kemba. It will make her happy. Yeah, let Kemba do her happy dance so you can know that you looked up the history of cheerleading. And I mean, hey, look, and the cheer competitions are very real.
Right. Those are
real.
cheerleader competitions. Xavier is the national champion.
They're national champs.
They're at least twice. But I want to say at least 3 or 4 times here, national champions of cheerleading competitions. Cheering is a sport, but these NFL groups are no longer cheerleaders. They are seductresses.
A bunch of strumpets with pom-poms.
Yep, that's exactly what they are. There's no cheering involved.
They do some cheering.
No, they don't.
They do some.
They do not.
They do some.
Mm-mm. Nope. They shake pom-pom.
I'm going to leave it alone.
So you do better going to a college game or a high school game if you want to see cheerleaders.
It is a big weekend for sports, so enjoy the weekend, but also have a safe weekend. Kimba, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
It was fun.
It was very much fun. And you make sure that you fill your cells and your brains with knowledge and fill your souls with something good. Because I don't know how else to wrap up this show. It's the reality check. It's been fun hanging out with your WBOK family. I am Eddie Francis along with
Kimba White Dupree.
All right, y'all. Pache.
From the campus of Xavier University, WBOK 1230 AM, Go, and Equity Media Station.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Reparations for descendants of slaves in New York City are one step closer to becoming a reality. The City Council on Thursday passed a package of bills that will look at the city's history with slavery and decide if reparations should be made. Supporters of the bills say the impact of slavery still affects daily lives of Black New Yorkers. The impact of Francine will continue to be felt in the Tampa Bay area. The National Weather Service is warning of high rip current risk in Hillsborough, Pinellas, Manatee, and Sarasota counties in Florida. Long periods of swells from Tropical Depression Francine are expected to cause dangerous rip currents. The National Weather Service advised swimming near a lifeguard. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign raised $47 million in the first 24 hours after the debate. A campaign official revealed the news on Thursday. It's the biggest 24-hour fundraising call since Harris launched her campaign. Her team raised $361 million in August. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
WBOK 1230 AM online at WBOK1230.com.
Sports Cowboy.
son of a gun. The space